This is Hino's Sport bringing you that heat and that far. We keeping the foot on the what on the next. We keeping the foot on the what on the next. Richy Rich, what's up, man? What's going on with you, bro?
Chilling, man. What's going on? He knows.
That's what's up. That's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up, man. We got a good panel that's coming through. We got a whole bunch of people that's gonna show up and show out. But the bottom line is this: Yusuke Knight started off and said, "This is pretty. His last chance win a championship. Media are desperate for 4 out of 10 in the NBA Finals. So lame if he don't win this season. He's done." What's that? What's that feedback in the background?
Hold on for a second. All right.
All right. Yeah, man. So that's the bottom line. It's true. They're trying to ensure that he wins 4 out of 10 NBA Finals. It's ridiculous, but I had to say exactly Yusuke Knight. So Richie Rich, let's get the salutations out the way. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. Most people are talking about that game last night, man, between the Clips and the Nuggets,
Hmm.
man. Them boys didn't get it done, and that's been the main thing talked about, in the sports world so far today. So I know we're gonna touch into that topic, and we just gotta, I gotta hold my L because I had expectations for the Clippers this year, but they
Hmm.
didn't get it done. That's just the bottom line, and just got to see who's going to come out on top this year because
That's
they out of
facts.
it. Yeah.
That's facts. Bottom line is this, man. When we look at, you know, when we sit here and we look at the Los Angeles Clippers and we look at what they bring to the table, we have to also keep in mind that there was an NBA stoppage. We also have to keep in mind that there was a 4 to 5 month drought. We have to keep in mind of those things. And if we're not keeping in mind of those things and we're not being mindful of that, then we're not being honest with ourselves. We're not showcasing integrity here. We're not telling ourselves the truth that's associated behind why the Los Angeles Clippers did not fully reach their potential. If you recall, 4 to 5 months in advance, the Los Angeles Clippers, 4 to 5 months in advance, the Los Angeles Clippers, they had a situation, right, where they were peaking defensively. The Los Angeles Clippers were taking themselves to the next level. They were reeling. And then all of a sudden, the COVID-19 situation happened and it became rampant and they had to stop the NBA season. This caused what we call a rippling effect because teams that are defensive oriented and teams that are defensive minded teams, they need to be playing games, especially when they're trying to build championship habits. You have to understand the pivotal time that the Los Angeles Clippers basically had an NBA stoppage was at the time where they were just getting their chemistry together. This is why you have a whole bunch of people that are what we call prisoner of the moment and prisoner fiasco type of individuals because they're blaming the Los Angeles Clippers, mind you, in 1 year that they've been together. You see, they don't keep that same energy over here, dog. Let me say it again. They don't keep that same energy over here. When we look at the Miami Heat, right? When they got together the first year, there was excuses that was made about this team. Oh, the Miami Heat, they just got together. LeBron just got with Wade. LeBron just got with such and such. LeBron just got with, Chris Bosh. They need to figure this thing out. They need to have chemistry. Well, the same thing is in reminiscent when you look at the Los Angeles Clippers. They just got together this first year, and we have to be mindful. We had catastrophic events that took place that told us that these guys could not get their full ingenuity and full chemistry together. Now, I'm not making any excuses, but the point that I'm trying to make here is when you think of teams that are defensive minded, they need as many games in their backyard as possible. They need as many games that they need to play in order for them to go over the hump. The Denver Nuggets beat the Los Angeles Clippers. They came back from 3-1 and beat them. We all were wrong in the prediction because we said it was going to be Lakers versus the Clippers. I spearheaded that, and I accept that for what it is. You're not going to get every prediction right. And salute goes out to the Denver Nuggets for coming back from 1-3 and basically closing the show and winning the damn series. But this series doesn't fall on Doc Rivers more so than it does Kawhi Leonard. Doc Rivers gets his blame because he's the coach. He's the head coach. Head coaches are going to get the blame for not executing the game plan, not executing the X's and O's all the way to the T. So yes, there is going to be some degree of blame that's going to go to Doc Rivers. But when people are sitting here and running with narratives saying that Doc Rivers needs to be fired, no. Stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. Go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. This is his first year with LAR Wade. And you can't compare what Doc Rivers had to deal with Lob City. He was dealing with a team that wasn't defensive minded. They had Chris Paul, but we know what Chris Paul is in the playoffs. They had Blake Griffin, they had DeAndre Jordan, but we know what these types of players are. This is the first real team that Doc Rivers has had since he had the Boston Celtics. And Doc Rivers has already proven to us when he's had a real team, he's won an NBA championship. And he's made them live in the damn NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Am I wrong in what I'm saying here? Am I unjustified in what I'm saying here? When Doc Rivers had a real team in the Boston Celtics, people forget. See, this is the problem with people. They have short-term memory. And, we're dealing with a generation that has a short attention span. So a lot of times things go over their heads. But you got to remember Doc Rivers when he had a team that was a force to be reckoned with. He won an NBA Finals and he lived in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. He lived in that motherfucker. He has LAR Wade for the first year, and people are saying that he needs to be fired. But a Mike D'Antoni gets to go and get his rabbit ass out of Houston, but then he gets to go get a 76ers job. And we know Mike D'Antoni doesn't have anything in the arsenal. He hasn't won anything. So how can people turn around and sit here and act like Doc Rivers needs to be fired when he's just 1 year under the helm of LAR Wade? Don't give me Lob City, because Lob City wasn't a complete basketball team. It wasn't a complete package like this LAR Wade team. Now, yes, if people are telling me that Doc Rivers needs to be on the clock next year, then I'll entertain that. Then I'll accept that. But after 1 year, a guy's coaching a team and all of a sudden he needs to be fired. He doesn't have the opportunity to right the ship. He doesn't have an opportunity to build this up, because people forget there was an NBA stoppage. Teams were not playing for 4 to 5 months. Then we have this NBA restart. That happened. This is an aberration year. This is an asterisk year. And something has to be said for that. And for people to run with Doc Rivers needs to be fired immediately, higgity fucking hush. Doc Rivers at least needs to be afforded 1 more year to see where he can go with this team. Now, by next year, which should be a full calendar year, if he doesn't get the job done, then yes, I'll be the first one. I would be spearheading the fact that he needs to get a pink slip. But after 1 year, when we've had coaches in the NBA that have had plenty of years to basically screw shit up and get job after job after job, but then they want to come after Doc Rivers. Oh, well, look what he did with the Clippers. He's had the Clippers a bona fide playoff team with them not being a fully rostered up team. He had the Clippers go 7 games against the Golden State Warriors. See, y'all have short-term memory here. If it wasn't for his coaching, that shit wouldn't have happened. That had nothing to do with the Blake Griffins and the DeAndre Jordans of the world. 2 bozos. Those bozos don't know how to hit. They don't know they don't know how to play basketball. Basketball slap them in the face. You letting Draymond Green punk you, Blake Griffin. This is what Doc Rivers had to deal with. Chris Paul was losing his legs, getting ram-a-lang by Stephen Curry. Doc Rivers had to create scenarios, create substitutions behind Chris Paul to ensure that the Clippers were able to get over the hump. Chris Paul going at it with Blake Griffin on whose team it is. All of these egos, DeAndre Jordan. And to manage that and to still be able to make it to the NBA Western Conference Finals, make it to the second round, come on, man. Something has to be said for that. Now, he made it to the second round this year. He didn't make it to the NBA Western Conference Finals. Now, to some people, that is perceived as a failure. But to me, the way that I look at the way this year went about and the way that I look at all of the circumstances, I'm going to say that the Denver Nuggets deserves to win. But I'm not going to be so quick to say that, oh, this was such an epic failure. No, the Los Angeles Clippers deserves the opportunity to right the ship. They deserve the opportunity to run this motherfucker back. We've seen this happen before. We've seen players lose from down 1-3 but turn it around. This happened to Kobe Bryant with the Phoenix Suns. He lost. He was up 3-1 in the NBA series, but people wrote him off. They said, what? He lost to the Phoenix Suns. He got exposed, blah, 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 blah. And then what happened the next few years after that? He ran the league roughshod. If I understand the temperature of Kawhi Leonard, he's taking all of the criticism. He's probably back in the fucking lab doing his thing so that he could prep himself for next year. But no excuses. They lost. But I don't want to hear this nonsense about Doc Rivers needs to be fired. No. Doc Rivers initiates the game plan. The players have to execute the game plan. And when you look at Kawhi Leonard didn't do what option one was supposed to do consistently. When you look at Paul George did not do what option two was supposed to do consistently. So that falls on them. If you guys recall in the Last Dance documentary, Michael Jordan laid it out clearly for you guys, for you Rudy Poo and Plum Plum Brains. Classic Dolce and Troglodytes. Ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. The GMs, the management, they build the team, but the players got to go out there and win the game. The players got to go out there and play the game. Let me say it again. The players got to go out there and win the game, and the players got to go out there and play the game. Kawhi didn't do what he was supposed to as option one. So he failed in that regard. And I kept the foot on the damn necks. Paul George was not consistent as the Scottie Pippen that he was supposed to be. So I kept the foot on the damn necks on his ass. Doc Rivers had some moments where his coaching was not up to par. I kept the foot on the necks with him as it pertains to that. But let's not sit here and act like Doc Rivers needs to be fired all of a sudden when he has a super team for 1 year. When was this new standard in basketball ever created that if you have a super team after 1 year, you need to be fired? That's nonsense. So coaches are not given the opportunity to right the ship. Coaches are not given the opportunity to be given at least 2 years. At least give the motherfucker 2 years to see what he's going to do, to see if he's going to turn this thing around. So all of this nonsense about him needing to be fired, that's why the Clippers didn't fire his ass. And I'm glad the Clippers didn't do that because they were thinking with sense. Steve Ballmer and them was thinking with sense. Okay, hold up. This was the first year. We're not gonna get all panicky about it. We're not gonna get impatient about it. We're gonna give the Clippers an opportunity to rewrite the ship. And trust and believe, when they come back, they're coming back in full force. You probably might see Doc Rivers start coaching like he first got a coaching job. I know Kawhi's gonna come back in claw form. And Paul George is going to have to vindicate himself. But y'all got to give the team an opportunity to do this. Saying that, oh, they need to get rid of Paul George. I've even heard that nonsense. Or they need to get rid of Doc Rivers. Really? Or are you guys just talking out of prisoner of the moment fiasco? Credit goes to Denver Nuggets. They outbeat and they outpaced the Los Angeles Clippers. They outplayed them. So you got to call a spade in that scenario. I'm not going to sit here and act like that didn't happen. That's exactly what happened. The Denver Nuggets won fair and square. They were down 1-3, and they executed that mismatch. They finally woke up, smelled the light, and realized, wait, hold up. We have Nikola Jokic, Joker. That's a mismatch down there with Ivica Zubac. Let's use it. We talked about this shit in the last live. And what happened? The Denver Nuggets realized, hold up. Barbecue chicken time. And that's what they did. They exploited their mismatch. So you got to give them credit for doing that. But I'm not sitting here making excuses for Kawhi. I got on his ass. He didn't step up as option one. I'm not making excuses for Paul George. I got on his ass. He didn't step up as option two. And Doc Rivers had some coaching inept ways. But the bottom line is when you look at the totality of what the team brings to the table, stop that nonsense that the team all of a sudden needs to be blown the hell up. Doc Rivers needs to be fired without them having at least one more season to vindicate themselves. They need at least one more season to have a get back. That's all I got to say on that. Richy Rich, what's your take on it, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a disappointing season for them, but I agree with a lot of your points. Uh, Doc shouldn't be fired. He should be given an opportunity to right the ship next year. But I feel that he's going to be on a short leash, man. If this team starts off bad next season, they're going to let him go in the season. Because this team has huge expectations, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of the flack that Kawhi is getting uh, is because of what he did in the offseason, the power broke move that he did when he kind of shut down free agency. The fans of the Lakers were expecting him to join LeBron and AD, but he pumped those brakes and he chose the Clippers, and he was basically seeing who was going to go join him on that Clipper team, whether it was going to be Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Paul George. Obviously, KD and Kyrie Irving told him no, so he chose Paul George to go over there with him. And these guys had expectations on them for this season, and they didn't get it done. And you're right. How many times have we seen players, LeBron especially, where they in the first year they're able to form a formidable team or a championship contending team, and they don't get it done the first year. Obviously there's criticism, but it's not. It's not like it's the end of the world. They deserve to have an opportunity to run it back to see if they can get it done the next time. If they don't get it done the next time, then all the criticism and all the viratol can stick. But the first year, yeah, get your critics in. Let's see what they can do next year, because obviously this whole COVID-19 thing, it affected things. The basketball stoppage. This team looked like they needed more than 8 games to get some type of chemistry going, because you could see the games, man. Like, even though they were up 3-1 in the series, even the Dallas series, you could see at moments, man, that something wasn't right with this team. Like uh, they don't set plays for one another. They're not really communicating on the defensive end. They're like, who's the quarterbacks? We know Kawhi and PG play defense. They're great. They're really good two-way defensive players, but like other guys on the team don't know what position to be on defense. This is why Denver was able to, Denver was running a lot of high pick and roll, and as you saw, none of these guys were like countering that. Like I was like paying attention. I'm like, when are they gonna uh, like communicate to make that switch? None of these guys were communicating properly. Uh, it got to a point, man, where you're wondering why, like, man, what's wrong with this team? And but they weren't making the necessary adjustments, man, when they were playing these games. Yes, you saw their potential, but the chemistry issues far outweighed the good things that they were doing, and that's why Denver was able to come back and beat them, in this series. And it's disappointing. I do think they need roster changes. I do think they need some roster changes on the team, because there's some guys they just can't play defense. So they might have to look elsewhere to see if they can improve the roster. They shouldn't blow up the roster, but they need to make improvements, because they can't stay together. I don't know. I'm looking at Lou Will. I'm looking at Lou Will's situation. Lou Will, if he's not playing if he's not scoring, he's kind of useless out there, because they target him on the defensive end. Harrell, uh, he looked like he was not in shape. Playing. When he had that issue with his grandma that passed away when he went out of the bubble, that kind of affected him when he came back, because this was a guy that was averaging 18 points in the series, and when he came in that bubble, he was not performing the way he was in the regular season. Kawhi and PG, they don't play off each other. They're a tandem that doesn't play off each other. When we see these tandems, when KD, Steph Curry, when they were a tandem, they played off each other a lot. They would run pick and rolls for each other. They would set each other up for pick and pops. You don't see that between Kawhi and Paul George. You even see that between LeBron and Anthony Davis. But LeBron and AD, they were able to get their timing right. They started games at the beginning of the season, and they were able to get a good number of games in to get some type of consistent chemistry going. The first game of the season, PG, was not there. The first few games of the season, he was not there because he was still recovering from both his shoulder surgeries. Kawhi, he's still doing that load management thing. So these guys, and then the basketball stoppage, these guys, they were not able to get that good grounding that they needed as a team. But I don't want to make excuses for them. They still had expectations. Even if you don't get it done the first year, you don't want to be one of those teams that you're up 3-1 in the series and you let a team come back, especially when you are winning those. When games 4 and 5, games 5 and 6, they're up 16 points going into the half, and then they implode. And in the second half, they allow Denver to come back, and they lose both those games. They're up big, and that's just that team lacks mental fortitude. They just can't get the job done. They don't have the killer instinct, and you saw it with this team. And yeah, they deserve to lose, and you got to give hats off to Denver because that's the team. If you pay attention to, if you've been following that team, every one of the playoff series since last year and up to this year have all been Game 7s. Last year, when they played the Spurs in round 1, it was a Game 7 series. They came out of it. When they played the Portland Trailblazers in the second round, it was a Game 7. Portland obviously won that series, and they went on to lose to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. Their first round this year was a Game 7 against Utah. And then their second round, guess what? Game 7, and they beat the Clippers. That team has a lot of mental fortitude. They've been through a lot of tough series, nothing but Game 7. So that team, man, they know what it's like to have to play a tough series, a tough grind-out series, and come out of it. So they're more battle-tested than the Clippers. That's just the honest truth, man. And looking at that team, they got their young, bright stars. They're ahead of schedule, man, of where they need to be at because, they're in the Western Conference. These guys are not even I don't even think their players are past 25. So they're kind of ahead of schedule, man. And in the very near future, they're going to be one of the powerhouses in the West. They still need a couple of their younger guys to develop, but that team, man, they have a bright future ahead of them. So hats off to them. They did what they were supposed to. They didn't quit. They didn't lay down like a lot of these teams lay down when they're playing a heavy favorite, and they were able to knock out a giant, man. So the Clippers got to get back to the drawing board, and the number 1 and the number 2, they got to play like the number 1 and number 2, just like said earlier. Those guys didn't play like the number 1 option and the number 2 option. They have to do a better job, and they got to hold themselves accountable. They got to look in the mirror because when you look at the role players, when number 1 and number 2 are not getting it done, the role players around them are normally implode. Everything, all of the foundation collapses, and now you see all the flaws of the team when the number 1 and number 2 aren't getting it done, and that's what happened with the Clippers. So these guys can't BS in their offseason. They gotta figure out some type of chemistry. Kawhi, I know Kawhi's gonna be serious about this thing because he was working heavy with Kobe. Rest in peace. PG, he's got to be serious about this. You're not going into an off season where you're having any type of surgery. So you and Kawhi, I got to get serious and dedicated because next season there's going to be even more expectations. And Doc Rivers is really going to be on the hot seat next year because Ballmer, that's when he's going to really start investing more in the team. He's going to be building a stadium. He's going to be moving them out of the Staples Center into their new stadium. And they're really going to try to separate themselves and try to be something in Los Angeles. So the expectations are going to be even higher. So, that team has a lot of work to do. So, yeah, that's I'm done.
Okay. Jalik, the leader, the floor is yours, man.
Yo, shout out to He Knows in Sports, Rich, Luis. Thanks for having me on once again. I just want to point out some things. I've been saying this for a minute.
Hey, Rich, is that your background, man?
I've been saying this for a minute that Doc Rivers is living off the one thing about Doc Rivers. A lot of things in life we look at illusions and image. He's living off the image of him being.
That's not Richy Rich. Whose background is that?
That must be Luis. You probably got mute him.
All right, let me do that. Okay, he muted himself.
Yeah. Right. So Doc Rivers is living off the image that he's this super duper great coach when he had that super team in the Celtics. And your image can get you far because Chris Paul has a good image, but it's certain things that's starting to come out how he is behind the scenes. But your image can take you far, whether it's good or whether it's bad, because a lot of teammates be good teammates, but their public perception makes them look worse than what they really, really are based on their perception. Now, Doc Rivers, I wish him the best, but bro, you would be a hell of a PR rep, and I'm gonna break some things down for you, bro. You definitely sound like you work for the Rivers consultation, bro. That's unusual because you don't usually talk like that, bro. I'm surprised at you. First of all, let's take Toronto last year. They hired a first-year coach and had Kawhi Leonard. They wasn't expected to win last year, but Kawhi Leonard took them and won the finals. And I know you like to make excuses about Kevin Durant. They still would have beat them. They won the game. So why is it that Nick Nurse can come in his first year and win it and was only one game away from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and in his second year without Kawhi Leonard and Doc Rivers, this is not his first time being down 3-1. He done the same thing against Houston. He was up 3-1. So it's obvious Doc Rivers is the problem. Your coach is worth a game or two. I understand it's the players, but it's important that the coach allows them to do it. And it's not that the fact that they lost, they got blown out, bro. They got blown out. They play like they not friends with each other. They play like one of the dudes smashed one of the broads and they mad and they don't get along. So that's also the coach's responsibility to pick up on that. Now, in the Denver Nuggets, I said you can't lunch on them. I picked the Clippers to win in 5 or 6 because I knew that the Nuggets remind me of the 2009, 2010 OKC before they arrive. I remember, I think it was 2009 season, Phil Jackson was complaining about the referees getting the calls on Kevin Durant, but they showed grit. And then the next year they lost to Dallas. I think it was the Western Conference Finals. And then the following year, they got over the hump. See, the Nuggets was down 3-1. Now, let's take Mike Malone. Isn't he the former coach of Sacramento? And they let him go? So why is it, Mr. PR guy, why is it that this guy gets all these extra chances? They let Frank Vogel go, and he's in the Western Conference Finals. Sometimes you just need a new environment. He needs a new environment. He's comfortable. He's privileged. He's in LA. We know the weather is always shiny. It's an amazing city, probably one of the best cities in the world, I'm hearing. He needs to go, bro. Why are you enabling him? Why is it that he gets all these chances, bro? He choked, and it's the second time. So what is it? I don't get that right there. So the meditation messiah, aka Jamal Murray, he dropped 40 on there. And let me break this down. Dude is in his 9th season, Kawhi, and Paul George is in his 10th season. So next year, first of all, people don't realize the business and the salary cap. They both can opt out of their contract next season. So why not get a new coach now and try to change it before it gets to that level? And then they just be a garbage team. You spend all that money on the new facilities, like Richard said. They literally both can be out of there less than 365 days from now. So why won't you get a new coach to come on there? Now, who the coach be? I don't know. But their bodies are breaking down. They couldn't stop him. His pick and roll game, he basically toyed with them. Jamal Murray, and then they capitalized on it. And Jamal Murray, like OKC did, they're confident. Like he doesn't see himself as a weak guy. He sees himself as one of the best in the league. And he showed me some things even more. Like stuff is easy for him. I think it's because he's doing all those different meditations. So shout out to all the people that do meditations. But if you ever need a PR representative, he knows his sports, has a way of spinning things. I'm not no excuse maker, bro. That's no excuses. And Kawhi Leonard, why is it that he won with Nick Nurse in his first season? Okay, Paul George is an all-star, made first team All-NBA. Why is it that he won with them, but he didn't with them? Or like, are you gonna come up with another PR excuse that he did that with Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant got hurt, bro? Come on, man. I mess with you. He knows the sports, but that's not cool, bro. That's not. Send Doc Rivers to. He need to be an analyst on TNT so he can learn the game again, get his hunger back. And then also, you blaming COVID. You act like the Clippers was the only person that had to deal with COVID. See, that's an excuse. It's like a boxer that say, "Yeah, I had a certain camp." As soon as you bring up the thought in your mind, it becomes an excuse in your subconscious mind. Whatever comes out your mouth is actually in your heart. I don't want to break down the subconscious and the unconscious mind. You guys are literally making excuses for the team, bro. They just lost. I'm happy for Denver, and believe it or not only is the Denver good, they actually make me like watching basketball because the Joker is, you can see him getting better and better. And after the game, they said they fight all the time, but they got the chemistry. I told y'all when I first was coming on here that homeboy is playing for a contract, right? And let's break down their free agents. Reggie Jackson is a free agent. Is he coming back? Jakeem Noah, is he coming back? And guess who else? High-paid free agents. Marcus Morris, free agent. Montrezl Harrell, free agent. Harrell was out of there. He was playing for a contract. The rumors was already there at the beginning of the season before COVID that certain things that they wasn't getting along. So who is able to pick up the energy of the team? If you're a parent and your kids is not getting along and you don't pick up the energy of the team and don't come in there and try to resolve that, then that's the parents' fault. So you got to put some blame on Doc Rivers, man. Promote that boy to an NBA analyst and bring somebody else in the game. Stop making excuses. Like I said, Frank Warren got fired, and so did Mike Malone. But then they came into a new environment and they doing better though. But that's all for that one right there, bro.
Okay. Lewis, what's up, man? What's going on, bro?
Yo, salute, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Clear, brother.
All right, awesome. My apologies for the noise. I'm guessing because I'm talking to the phone. But anyway, salute to Jalik, salute to Richy, salute to He Knows, and salute to the chat. Thanks again for having me. Listen, man, I'm going to go in on the Clippers tonight, as it is anyway, on Pathetic P, as I call him, Paul George. And to be really honest, I got to actually agree with Jalik and all the points that he made, and here's why. And I'm going to start with Doc Rivers because what you got to understand is that Doc Rivers has had talented teams now, and I understand what you guys are saying. He knows that Richy Rich, and I thought Richy Rich made some good points when he was talking. But Doc Rivers, this guy has blown 3-3-1 leads. This was the third one in Game 7. When you look at the Nuggets were pick and rolling this team to death. And that was considering in the last 2 games, Michael Porter Jr. didn't even score. I think he had a total of, what was it? I think anywhere from 3 to 6 points in the second half. So that's an issue. Then also you got to consider the fact that Jeremy Grant went scoreless in the first half and then got going in that third quarter. So when you look at the Clippers, they lost they lost games 5, 6, and 7 in the third quarter once again, which was that was their Achilles heel. That was after being up 3-1. When I look at this Clippers team, I don't see good chemistry. They run too much isolation. That's on the coach, because you got to ask yourself, what plays are you running that they continuously go ISO? They continue to go away. And you kind of have to start to question, they don't really have leadership when I look at this Clipper team, and they imploded at the wrong time. I told you guys before too. I said that the type of characters they have on this team, I said you could easily lose these guys because those guys are really not mentally into the game. So I understand with COVID-19, I understand, we could talk about, Paul George missing time with 11 games and all that. But the thing is that the fact, and I was hearing a report saying that the Clippers after that whole Jacob Blake thing, they weren't really, well, I say right before the bubble started, some of the players weren't even too sure if they even wanted to go back. Lou Will was one of them. But, they convinced him to play because they were saying they got a shot to win a championship. And, they failed miserably. And we got a shout out to the Denver Nuggets because think about this. Jamal Murray in a game 7 scored 40 points. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard showing their honor to Kobe, they combined for 24 points. Jamal Murray outscored the 2 best players on the LA Clippers by 16 in game 7. I'm sorry, that's just pathetic. On top of that, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George both went scoreless in the fourth quarter, and they didn't hit a single 3-pointer. And Kawhi Leonard, when he was with Nick Nurse last year, they ran a system. I noticed what Doc Rivers does too much is he puts the ball in Kawhi's hands a little too much and have him go one-on-one, and it's the same with Paul George. I look at this Clipper team and they don't really show, they didn't really show trust. And, get it on Paul George, he shows me he doesn't have a championship mentality. This dude has got too many excuses, man. Like, just after the game, he said it wasn't really a championship or bust season when Paul George all off season. And even during while the Clippers were starting to click and they headed into the pandemic and then coming back from the bubble, he said they had championship aspirations. So my thing is, which one is it? Do you have championship aspirations or it wasn't a championship season according to you? So so Paul George can't come and twist those words. That dude is mentally fragile. And the fact that in the last three out of the last 4 years, Paul George has come small in elimination games, that's not going to cut it. And then what Jalik was saying about the free agents, I got to agree with him here because also remember they went all in to get Paul George. They gave up all those picks and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just to get him. And then also the Clippers don't have a first-round pick, so that kind of hurts them too. And I know Steve Ball was going to try to do his best to be busy, but getting back on Doc Rivers, this dude had a 3-2 lead against the Orlando Magic back in 2009, and that was without Kevin Garnett. They lost that series. They had a 3-2 lead against the Lakers, and Kendrick Perkins gets injured in Game 6. They lose that series. They had 3-3-1 leads when he was in Orlando with T-Mac. 3-1 on Detroit. They blew that series. Now, I get what you're saying that the players have to go out there and they have to execute. And I agree with Jordan to a certain degree, but at the same time, it also has to be a combination of the X's and O's too. And with Doc Rivers, I don't know what he's doing, but he lost the trust in that locker room because whatever he was saying, the Clippers just were not following. I feel like everybody was kind of like in their own world, honestly. So, and the fact that Paul George has got the nerve to mention about James Harden, you can't talk about James Harden when you know better. And the fact that you don't show up in big games. Harden was actually more consistent than he was in the playoffs. And we already know about what James Harden is. So, like I said, I'm kind of going to save my rant a little bit later when it comes to the Clippers. And the bottom line is they didn't get it done. And we got to shout out to the Denver Nuggets. It's like what Richy Rich said. They've been in Game 7s. They've been in Game 7s last year and then Game 7 this year. They're more battle tested than the Clippers were. And and that was the thing also though, the Clippers never really faced adversity right up until they faced this bubble and they couldn't really deal with it. So the thing with Kawhi Leonard, you have to ask yourself is how does he bounce back next year? So he has an opportunity to kind of right the ship wrong. And I don't think Doc Rivers is going to get fired anyway, because I think Steve Ballmer's kind of looking at it as, well, we had an epic collapse because the thing is the Clippers got all this hype. And also that commercial where Kawhi was promoting his New Balance sneaker, it was LA my way. All the hype that the Clippers got, that's the reason that they didn't live up to expectations. So of course people are going to troll the Clippers. So I get what you're saying. He knows his sport, but I can't excuse that. And the thing is, Kawhi was mentioned among the best. Now he's going to have to prove that. And, this is Kawhi's legacy took a hit, especially because it's what Jalik said, man. These guys are in their 9th and 10th seasons. So, and I hate to say, I got to say this too. They're going to have to find a way to trade Paul George because Paul George continues to show that he's not even looking like a number 2. The fact that these last 3 to 4 years, he's been this inconsistent. and has not been able to come through in big games like that, like that's a real problem, man. That's a real problem. And like Richy Rich said, I don't know. Lou Will doesn't do much if he doesn't score the rock. They really need a playmaker. They also lack leadership. They really lack leadership. Whether it's a coach or whether it's a player, they don't really have that vocal leader. And I look at Kawhi Leonard as a Nightwing, not as a Batman. And so it's apparent that they need a Robin, a consistent Robin. But Kawhi Leonard's really not a vocal leader. So, I mean, if he's able to prove that he's Batman, he's going to have to do it next year. But for right now, I got to call Kawhi Leonard a Nightwing because that's what he is right now. So, like I said, Doc Rivers has had a lot of opportunities. And if you look at that, and I'm going to close it with this, you look at that 2008 Boston Celtics team, they went 7 games with a 37-win Hawks team. They went to 7 games with a LeBron-led Cavaliers team that only won 45 games. And then Kobe's Lakers without Andrew Bynum, because people are forgetting that too. And Trevor Ariza was not even 100% in that series. They took the Celtics to 6 games. So that Celtics team wasn't even really dominant. So my point is that Doc has had opportunities, man. And if you look at those games, you know, when you look at Boston, they had a 3-2 lead on the Miami Heat in the Big 3 era, and they lost the last 2 games. So it's like Doc has had opportunities and he has not been able to falter. So in one sense, I understand, but I'm sorry. They're gonna have to do some roster moves to obviously improve, because the biggest thing they got to get is obviously continuity, chemistry. They obviously got to play together, but they also, like I said, they're lacking leadership, and they need leadership, and they need it bad because you need a leader when things go sour. And my next thing is going to be, how does Kawhi Leonard and this team deal with adversity, and then I wonder what moves they're going to make in the offseason. That's my take on it.
Very respectful takes from Lewis. Very respectful take from Jalik. Very respectful take from Richy Rich. Richy Rich, hold on to your thought, because I know you want to add something on the back end. But here's my thing. I hear what you guys are saying, but you guys have to look at everything that was encompassed with the Los Angeles Clippers. They never really had the opportunity to create a gelling of their team. They had a litany of injuries. This is facts. You know, this is not something that we know that does not exist. I'm not excusing them because of the loss that they had against Denver Nuggets. They lost. Kawhi didn't show up. But to say Kawhi's a Nightwing because he lost this playoff series, that's a bit of a stretch. Kawhi's already proven himself Batman status because he's already won 2 finals and 2 finals MVPs. So his Batman status is not taken from him. It's just the fact that in this year, he didn't perform and he didn't show up to the level that he was supposed to show up at. But I'm not going to go as far as to say that he's regressed all the way down to Nightwing status. That's a bit of a stretch to say that. Now, as it pertains to Paul George has some soul searching to do. He has some things to figure out, because this is what the status of the team is going to look like moving forward from a climate perspective. They're going to keep that same team intact. And the reason why Kawhi Leonard went to the Los Angeles Clippers is because Doc Rivers was going to be at the helm. And that was one of the reasons why he decided to play up under Doc Rivers. But I'm still holding serve and still holding court that the Los Angeles Clippers were not a team that were able to build full continuity throughout the season. I mean, they had injuries that impacted them. And when you look at the Denver Nuggets didn't have no injuries, no major injuries that impacted them like it did with the Los Angeles Clippers. They had injuries now, but it wasn't to the level of the Los Angeles Clippers where Paul George missed the amount of games that he missed, and also with the fact that he has mental lapses, and then coupled with the fact that he missed those litany of games that he missed, that affected the team. Kawhi Leonard, as a leader, he's failed. He didn't do what he was supposed to from a leadership perspective. So I'm not going to make no excuses as it pertains to that. That's why I dropped my videos. That's why I said that Kawhi Leonard is option 1. And as option 1, you have that burden to deliver. Win, lose, or draw, you have to deliver. And if option 1 doesn't get the job done, the burden falls on him. But I have to also look at the totality of all of the stuff that's going on. COVID-19 is a big thing. This is not an excuse. This is facts. See, an excuse is something that you cannot have an excuse is something that you don't have no facts to justify behind it. You just trying to find a escape route to say this and say that. COVID-19 happened. There was an NBA stoppage. And with a team that was already, not fully clicking on all cylinders in terms of their full team and what their team was bringing to the table, and then they had a stoppage 4 to 5 months, that hurt them more than it hurt the Denver Nuggets. And then you also have to look at how long the Clippers has been together. This version of the Clippers have only been together this year. And what Jalik, the leader, failed to realize is that Denver Nuggets team has been together multiple years. There's something that has to be said when chemistry is together that much longer. That's that much continuity you have. That's that much of the fact that two teams that are put together, a team that's put together, that's that much more communication that you guys have on the basketball floor. The Denver Nuggets have had that because they've had multiple seasons to showcase that. The Los Angeles Clippers, this is their first year together. And I get it. They're a super team, and super teams are expected to do things that are extraordinary. But we can't sit here and just all of a sudden say, well, this right here was just so catastrophic to the point to where it impacted Kawhi's legacy. I'm not going to go that far to say that. Is this a disappointment? Yes. Is this something that is lingering and Kawhi is going to have to take responsibility? Yes. Now, the legacy conversation, if the Clippers come back next year and then they have another catastrophic failure, then yes, now that whole legacy conversation with Kawhi Leonard, that could be entertained. But this is the first time we've seen Kawhi Leonard have this kind of epic failure in the NBA playoffs. And to me, when a player has that their first time, there's always that room for that aberration. There's always that room for that asterisk for them to see if they could rise above the ashes like a phoenix and turn that bad boy around. So I'm looking forward to see what next year is going to look like for the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, what I do agree with Lewis on, and Lewis hit it hard, was the roster changes. There is some roster changes that are going to have to happen. There is some roster movement that's going to have to take place because one issue that they have is they haven't addressed their big man position. There's a problem with that. That needs to be fixed. They need to make sure in this offseason they go out there and they invest in getting a quality big that can help them down. Because if that's not the case, they're going to keep getting exposed at that position. And then another thing that they need to work on is they need to go out there and get them a quality 3-and-D level type of player like a Trevor Ariza. They don't have that. And that's clear that was missing in this playoffs. If they can get those two types of players to add to what they already have, and they have a full season under their belt, and they're able to build their chemistry, I believe things are going to turn around for the Los Angeles Clippers. But as of right now, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just stating the facts of the events that have taken place. Now, Doc Rivers, he's on the hot seat as officially next year. I can't put Doc Rivers on the hot seat this year because this is the first time since the Boston Celtics that Doc Rivers has had a quality coach. A quality team. And I know people are sitting there throwing Doc Rivers blew 15 points in game 5 and he blew 19 points in game 6 and the Clippers collapsed in the fourth quarter to lose game 7. But people forget that Clippers team was Lob City Clippers team. This is not the LAR Way Clippers team. This is a whole different dichotomy of a team here. This is a real superstar Kawhi Leonard. This is not Chris Paul, who gives you a similitude of a superstar but lacks the fullness thereof. It's not that version of the Clippers. That Clippers, we already knew they were an incomplete package team. And anybody here on the panel can't sit here and act like that Clippers team was no different than the Houston Rockets team. We've talked about how that Lob City team, they needed to blow them up. They needed to get rid of DeAndre Jordan. They needed to get rid of Blake Griffin. They needed to get rid of Chris Paul because that team right there was not that team. And they've proven themselves. But to me, this is the first year that Doc Rivers has had LAR Way. Is it a disappointment? Yes. Did they lose to the Denver Nuggets? Yes. No excuses. The Denver Nuggets outplayed them. The Denver Nuggets out X's and O's them. I'm not making no excuse to that. I'm just saying that let's not sit here and be so extreme in our position and say that, oh, the season, the way that this team is constructed, get rid of the coach, Let's revisit Paul George to see if we need to get rid of him. Let's completely change the dichotomy of the team. I'm not going to be so quick to say that. I need to see by next year if they're giving me the same tendencies. And if I see the same tendencies by next year with them having a full season, there is no NBA stoppage, there is continuity built, there isn't a litany of injuries, and they're able to regather themselves. Now, if they have a problem, then yes, Lewis, Houston, we have a fucking problem. And then at that point, I'll be the first one. If I have to spearhead it, I'll do it. I'll say, hey, pink slip everybody. But I'm not going to be so quick to run and jump the gun. Because here's the thing. Let's keep that same energy over here, dog. LeBron James has had teams, right? When he had the epic, catastrophic failure against the Orlando Magics. That's right, Jalik the leader. This is my counter to your ass. Because you're a LeBron tard. When he played against Orlando Magic, your LeBron tard ass was probably right there saying, well, LeBron, they were, the Orlando team, they were complete. No, they weren't. LeBron was supposed to win that series. I've seen LeBron James fans make excuse for the Cleveland Cavaliers in that series against Orlando Magic. But the Orlando Magic did exactly what the Denver Nuggets did. They ain't do no down from 3-1, but they did exactly what they did in beating them. But they weren't supposed to win that series. Everybody thought that the Cleveland Cavaliers were supposed to win it. But I didn't see nobody say LeBron, was Nightwing that year. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that they said they need to blow the team up. I didn't hear none of that. You know what I heard? Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're going to do it next year, man. They're going to turn it around. You see what I'm saying? So keep that same energy, dog. If y'all going to sit here and not get on LeBron James and not cut LeBron James some slack, well, y'all got to do the same thing for Kawhi Leonard. Now, this is not directed towards Lewis. This was more directed towards Jalik the leader. This is my counter to you. How come LeBron gets excuses, but Kawhi Leonard doesn't? The Los Angeles Lakers didn't make the playoffs last year. That's an utter failure. That's even worse than what the Clippers did. They didn't even make it out the Wild Wild West. But I heard your ass along with these LeBron tards. That's why I said, I'm going to keep the foot on your damn necks. When you come after me, you getting eaten and murked. That's the way it works. They didn't make the fucking playoffs. And when they didn't make the playoffs, you right there with a bunch of LeBron talk said, well, LeBron, he had a groin injury that lasted 6 months. You was right there sounding like his freaking therapist. How the hell is a therapist a medical doctor? Me and Lewis Ethan and Merck that one last year. But 6 months, he supposedly had an injury for 6 months. That was the excuse. So how does LeBron get to make an excuse? They get to make an excuse for LeBron, but there's no excuse for the Los Angeles Clippers. There's no justification for them. You know why? This all boils down to this. The Clippers are a threat to the Lakers. And that's why you see Laker fans. If you notice the criticism that's coming, look, who's the biggest critic here on the panel? Jalik the leader. I understand where Lewis is coming from because what Lewis is saying is fair. Notice I'm not even disagreeing with most of what Lewis is saying. I disagree with some of his points, but not most of them, because he's coming from a reasonable and fair position. You coming from a LeBron tar perspective. So I already know your bias is right there at the damn door. Anything to diss Kawhi Leonard because you want to prop up LeBron because he made it to the Western Conference Finals. What did he fucking do? In 10 years, LeBron, with the Los Angeles Lakers, you didn't make it to the damn playoffs last year. So what was your damn excuse? But you didn't hear LeBron tars get on LeBron because he didn't make it to the playoffs. What's worse, not making it to the playoffs, Richy Rich, or at least getting executed in the second round? I think getting executed in the second round is better than not being good enough to make it to the playoffs. This was the same Jalik leader that said, you give LeBron James any team, he's going to bring them to the NBA Finals. Remember he said that fuck shit 3 weeks ago? When he first got in here and we barbecue chicken his ass and we got him back on the swivel. See, now he's going back to his original ways and we got to bring him right back to the damn shore. That's what he was saying. Well, LeBron could take any team to the finals. But Jalik didn't mention last year. What happened to that team? But y'all cut the Lakers slack. Keep that same energy. And y'all going to turn around and say, well, what He Knows the Sport is saying about COVID, that's valid. At least that's not no therapist that's saying that LeBron James, now therapist that deals with your mental, not your physical extremities, saying that LeBron James had the equivalent of a 6-month injury. You see the difference here? COVID and a 6-month bullshit injury that he was supposed to sit out? You see how this is not adding up? Oh, LeBron didn't have nobody around him. He didn't have a team. But I thought LeBron could lead everybody. I'm not making no excuses for the Clippers. But if y'all gonna hold the Clippers' feet to the damn fire and say Doc Rivers need to be fired and this person need to go and that person need to go, why do y'all do that with the Los Angeles Lakers? There was excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse that was put on the Los Angeles Lakers. But because it's the Clippers, a team that is a threat, a team that could potentially become Achilles heel for the Lakers, oh, we're going to get on them. We're going to call them flippers. We're going to say they catastrophically failed. We're going to say this. We're going to say that. Now, did they nut up? Yes. Did they lose to the Denver Nuggets? Yes. There's no justifying you coming back from a 1-3 series and turning it around. I agree with everything Lewis said as it pertains to that. And I'm going to hold serve on that. If I try to justify something like that, then that's an excuse I'm giving. But I'm not speaking to that. What I'm saying is, why does Doc Rivers deserve to be fired after one season? He should be afforded the opportunity to right the ship. Why does Paul George deserve to be pink slip? He needs to right the fucking ship. They paid him all of this damn money. Now by next year, if we're seeing these same tendencies and we're seeing these same things go around, then we have a problem. But you got to keep that same energy over here, Jalik, because when LeBron James disappeared last year and his ass was nowhere to be found in the playoffs, you and a bunch of LeBron tards said, watch, LeBron coming back next year. I didn't hear none of that. LeBron failed. I didn't hear none of that. LeBron had a catastrophic failure. You see how things are disproportionate for LeBron James? But then when it comes to other players, oh, we got to put that scope on them. We got to put that extra light on them. Did the Clippers fail? Yes. Did the Clippers lose to the Nuggets? Yes. But if you're going to get on Clippers, the way that you're going to get on the Clippers, you better damn sure get on the Lakers that same way. And if you don't do that, higgity fucking hush. Now, Richy Rich, what you got to say, man?
Yeah, man, you went in, man. I totally agree with what you have to say. You know, basically, I firmly believe that, you know, everybody should be given another opportunity if they fail at something. So these guys, they failed. You know, they deserve another opportunity, another shot to see if they can run it back. But they all need to be on a leash, man, because this team, the energy that they played with this year, the body language was awful. I didn't like that. You know, so watching some of these games, you know, these guys, they have to make roster changes. I believe Yo-Yo mentioned that they needed a point guard and a center. Yeah, that's basically what they need, and they might need another wing. They had Mo Harkless. That's a guy I like for them. They ended up trading him in the season for Marcus Morris. I think they got the wrong Morris brother, because the other Morris brother is actually playing defense on the Lakers and he's hitting his shots. This Morris brother that they acquired, he can't do those things. So they kind of got fleeced from the Knicks and making that deal. I think they should have just stayed with Mo Harkless. He was a better defender than Marcus Morris. You know, they also need a point guard. Kawhi Leonard, he has always played better when he had a good point guard. Last year he was playing with Lowry. Lowry actually knows how to run an offense. Most of the time he played with the Spurs, come on, he played with Tony Parker. We already know about that legend right there. You know, Tony Parker is he's going to be a Hall of Fame point guard. One of the most underrated point guards to ever play in the NBA. Yeah, that man was a nightmare. You know, deceptive quickness, deceptive speed, and he always got people with that floater. Tony Parker knew how to run an offense. They need to find a point guard to see if they can acquire in the offseason that can run that team. Pat Bev is not a point guard. He's a defender, you know, and every time he brings the ball down, he's looking quick to Kawhi or PG to get rid of the ball and pass it to him. Or Pat Bev likes to play hot potato with the ball, man. He's not a point guard. So that kind of offset their offense. It forces Kawhi and PG to have to be playmakers more than they bargained for. It doesn't let Kawhi get in his sweet spots, because if you see how he operates, Kawhi likes to, you know, get himself He likes to play in the low block, and he likes to get himself in the mid range, and he likes to set himself up in the post. Kawhi couldn't play from the post. He's their best post player, and he couldn't even play in the post this series because they didn't have a point. They didn't have no one for him to play off the ball to actually get in his position, so someone could dump it down so he can go to work. The Denver Nuggets were actually able to set their defense because Kawhi is coming from the far perimeter, so they're able to throw that double team at him. If he's able to get in the post and they try to throw a double team, now he can hit the cutting guy. There's a lot of stuff that was off with this team, man. They're definitely gonna have to make roster moves, and they're gonna need a center too, because Ivan Zubac, he still looks like he's not developed enough yet, man. He can't block shots, and he can't stay in front of people, man. Jokic is not the most conditioned guy in the NBA. Even when he lost all that weight, he still looks like he's out of shape. How are you letting Nikola Jokic blow right past you? I'm like, man, Zubac, man, it was disappointing because that's what was killing him. Every time a pick and pop was called or a pick and roll was called, Zubac was not switching. He was losing his man on the switch, or Lou Will when he was with Harrell, and they were getting those two. They were losing their guys. Guys weren't switching appropriately, so they have to address that. Doc Rivers, listen, man, I agree with a lot of what Lewis and what Jalik the leader had to say, because Doc Rivers, he's had opportunities. I don't want him to be fired. I want him to be given a short leash, because he deserves to have another opportunity to coach this team. Now, if we see bad habits continuing next season, yeah, he deserves to be shipped out of there. But give this man another opportunity, because everybody deserves another opportunity. This is not like he's been coaching this team for 2 seasons and he didn't get it done. This was his first season coaching Kawhi and PG. Let's see what they can do next year. That's fair. That's fair. That's reasonable. You can't get when Eric Spoelstra didn't get it done with the Miami Heat the first year. They were calling for this man's job. They were saying, Pat Riley, come down and coach the Miami Heat. What did Pat Riley say? He has faith in Eric Spoelstra. I believe in him. This is his job. Let's see what they can do next year, man. Doc Rivers has deserved another opportunity, but next year is his only opportunity. I'm not giving him any more opportunities after that. And these guys, they deserve to be held accountable for what they did out there. They were up 3-1. This is not a thing that's gonna like a terrible stain on Kawhi's legacy, but it's gonna be a memorable. You're gonna remember. You're gonna be Kawhi's, because they remember about Kobe Bryant to this day when he was up 3-1 on the Phoenix Suns and he didn't get that. People just remember those things because those are memorable things. So Kawhi has that on his resume. So it's not a good thing to have on your resume. But if it's someone I know that could bounce back from it, it's him, because he's gonna go back into the lab. PG, man, there's things I don't like. I don't, just like how Lewis was talking about his post-game interviews, or all throughout the season, or all throughout this postseason. Like, there's certain traits I don't like about PG, man. This guy, man, I don't know if he needs counseling or something, but something ain't clicking with him. Was it the injury that has him where he almost where he fractured his leg? He used to be a more assertive player. Like, now he's not really assertive, man. He's not really like a guy that goes after it. And he gave himself that nickname, Playoff Pete. When you're a player in the NBA, you're not supposed to be giving yourself nicknames. Kobe got away with it because, Kobe, man, we already know he had that killer mentality. So he called himself Black Mamba. But other players, you don't really hear them being given nicknames like that. Shaq gave Paul Pierce the nickname The Truth. Allen Iverson, The Answer. He was given that nickname by the public. All these players have pretty much got their nicknames on the outside in. He gave himself Playoff Pete, but he hasn't shown up in the postseason, man. since his Indiana days. You know, and it's getting tiring, man, seeing this guy not show up. You know, so next year, man, if you see the same tendencies from him, I believe if they can't deal him if they can't get a point guard in the offseason, then they need to see if they could deal him next season. If he's showing those same traits, see if they can get a playmaker at the 1. They got to address the 5 because they can't. Ivan Zubac, man, I don't think he's ready to be a starting center in the NBA because he wasn't finishing easy bunnies at the rim. He was missing easy layups, easy dunks, and he's not a shot blocker. He's not an enforcer. So they're gonna need that. If you to have a great defense, man, you need an enforcer at the 5. You need a guy that's gonna protect the rim because now your perimeter players, if you have elite defenders on the perimeter, their job is to funnel that player that's the primary ball, the scorer into the 5, and that's where the defense can like really hold up their value. They need a 5 that's gonna. I don't know where they're gonna get this guy, but they have to try to acquire a number 5, man, bad, because they don't have that. This is the reason why Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, certain guys were able to just drive to the hole. I'm like, who's covering the rim, man? They don't have a 5, man. Zubac is not it. I thought he was gonna do some things, but he's not it.
All right, so let's get some last thoughts in. Lewis, before you go, and Jalik, before you go, I just wanted to say this. Only Lakers fans are getting after Doc Rivers. I noticed a trend. Notice Lewis's criticisms. Although I don't agree with everything he said, he brought up over 90% of impactful points. So, Lewis, what you got to say on this last round of this topic, man?
Well, listen, I know Steve Ballmer isn't going to fire Doc Rivers, like I said before, so he's going to give him another opportunity because the way he's looking at it is he's basically saying, well, we had an epic collapse, but our team didn't have the best chemistry during the pandemic when you look at all of the months off of basketball and also the social justice thing that's going on too. This Clipper team was very distracted, but but like I said before, like the key thing is going to be for them, how do they bounce back next season? Because next season is going to be a lot. So like Richy was saying, Doc is already on the hot seat because it's like I said before, he's had too many opportunities, even with the talent he's had, and he, hasn't been able to get it done. And the thing is, if you look at that series, he left Montrezl Harrell and Lou Will too long playing, and they weren't producing. Now Montrezl showed up in Game 7, but he looked like he wasn't in the best of shape, like Rich was saying. Lou Will, if he's not scoring, he doesn't really impact the game. And then he made a good point on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard likes to be on the low block. He likes to get to a spot. Doc Rivers tried to make him more into a playmaker, and that's just not what Kawhi's role is. And some of these media heads were going like, well, Kawhi only got like 2 assists and stuff. He's a shooting guard, and who you could also put at the small forward. So the thing is, his role is to score. Like that's what Kawhi Leonard does and play defense. Like his role isn't to be a playmaker, and it's the same with Paul George. If you look at what Paul George is right now, Paul George, he doesn't. There's moments where it looks like he could come off the ball and do well, but if you look at the Clippers' defense, it got exposed badly because what they need a defensive big because they were getting exposed in the interior, especially because Doc really didn't make any adjustments to the pick and roll defense, and then you can also see that they just really didn't have trust on that end of the floor. So the players get accountability because Doc is not on the court, but Doc didn't make any adjustments neither. And that's why I got to hold Doc accountable. He didn't try to play any other guys to try to see if they can try to see if they can have an impact. You see that Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell are doing nothing on the court. Why are you still riding with them? So that's what Doc Rivers was doing about. And that's why I said that it's on him because there's been some other teams that he's gone up against that have some injuries in his career where he's coached. And when I go back to the Lob City Clippers, the reason that you have to get on them for that one too is because even if they weren't a great team, think about this. And yeah, you could blame the players, but that Game 6 in 2015, it's crazy to me that there were no adjustments made on his part. And the players, who I think they had most of their starters on the court, the Houston bench was the one that pretty much won them that fourth quarter and that game. And James Harden, who's known to choke in big moments in the playoffs, especially like in either closeout or elimination games, he sat on the bench when the Houston bench made that run. And Doc, he just does not make he didn't make any adjustments. Now, when you compare him to a guy like Mike D'Antoni, okay, he's much better than D'Antoni because D'Antoni has consistently proven that he's not a playoff coach. Consistently proven that he's not a playoff coach. So like I said before, Steve Ballmer is not going to fire Doc Rivers because he's going to look at it like this. He's looking at it as we didn't really have our team together. We didn't really see what our team is looking like if we had if they had chemistry, if they had continuity. So the challenge for Doc Rivers is he has to find a way to be motivating to his team. And he also has to learn how to kill momentum because what he also did in this bubble, he kept letting the teams have momentum. Look how they struggled against Dallas. And Porzingis was out for most of that series. Then you look at this bubble. Then you look at this series against the Nuggets. They had most of their team, but also you got to forget that there's no Will Barton, and the fact that Gary Harris came back from a hip injury, so he was injured. Jamal Murray didn't come back until in that first round. So the Clippers, so the Nuggets had their fair share of injuries. Now the Clippers had a lot of guys out of the lineup too, so they were kind of in and out. But there's just really no excuse for that. Just considering that. With all that hype, because, and I'm going to close it with this, what they could have done is if they didn't want to play, because there was a report that came out and said that a lot of the Clipper players, when they decided to boycott, they didn't even want to play and they wanted to go home. So, and a lot of the Clippers, remember what you said about Kawhi Leonard when they first came back and how bad he looked? It really looked like Kawhi really wasn't taking care of his body. So, when you factor all of that in, guys not being in the best of shape, they kind of got really lazy. And Lou Williams said it best last night. They tried to rely on talent. And the thing is, talent can only take you so far. You got to have continuity to complement that talent. And they did not have continuity. They try to win on talent. They felt like they could just show up and show out whenever they want. And players got to obviously take accountability. Paul George, like I said, I'm going to get on his neck in my video tonight because I got a lot of stuff to say on his comments. But at the end of the day, man, Doc Rivers, man, this is why I also have to look at you because he gets a lot of credit for being a great coach. A lot of coaches have said this about him. But the opportunities that Doc has had, he's lost 8 Game 7s in his career, and that's as a coach. We're not even talking about his career as a player, as a coach. So when you lose 8 Game 7s, that's telling you what are you doing in the biggest of moments because it's not just the players. Are you making any adjustments? Now, if Doc was making adjustments and the players don't execute, that's 100% on the players. But you look at this series against the Nuggets, he really didn't adjust. And that's what I said. As much as I blame the 2 stars, Kawhi and Paul George, for not showing up in the fourth quarter, that's on Doc Rivers too. And I close it with that.
Okay. Jalik, what you got to say, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just your track record. Like I said in what I said earlier, your image can get you places sometimes, where your talent and your real abilities can't get you. So it's his image, he's black, it's the Black Lives Matter thing, and his publicist right here. Shout out to him. Make sure you'll press the thumbs up. His publicist right here. I don't know if he gets commission or is as obvious everybody can see it. And Richard want to say it, but Richard don't want to, upset the guy. But it's obvious right there. Now, Kawhi, I wasn't getting on Kawhi. It's one thing to lose. It's just how you lost, bro. You don't lose 3 straight games. That's just not that shows something that's going on, bro. Like, if you can't make that adjustment, if they would have just lost, it just makes it worse that they was down 3-1 and they was playing a tired team. They played a tired team. They was tired. They went to Game 7 against Utah. But to Mike Malone's credit, remember, he's the former coach of Sacramento that got let go. He doesn't have the Clippers privilege. He knows his sports as his publicist, but he is able to make adjustments and learn. So that's what it is, bro. You got to hold everybody the same energy. He doesn't get this extra energy because of his chip, bro. That was like 13 years ago. That's old news right there.
That was last. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. That's old Doc Rivers. And what
Oh, you talking about Doc Rivers? Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
Doc Rivers, yeah, Doc Rivers. But what you see is if they all had just signed their contract and it was about 4 or 5 years down the line, you can say okay. But if you mix the business aspect of it, non-human nature, Steve Ballmer is probably afraid to fire Doc Rivers because I think he also has another position besides the coach. But if I was doing it, I say business never personal. I would give them, they got guaranteed contracts as the coach, but what you're going to do, you're going to put pressure on them. The other teams around the NBA is going to get better. So Denver is actually going to get better. They also saving a lot of money because they paying $30 million to Paul Millsap, who's coming up in the playoffs. Paul George, like the boxer Keith Thurman, he needs to go see a sports psychologist. It's something that's going on with him mentally because he's like almost starting to be consistently inconsistent. His best playoff performances was his like second and third year when he was with Roy Hibbert and West in Indiana when they was battling homeboy LeBron James. But then it's like something gets in his brain and it's like he doesn't really have no direction. Now you take Paul George, he's like quiet, but he talk a little bit more than Kawhi. Maybe Kawhi needs somebody that can talk. And I 100% agree with y'all. They need somebody that can play point guard because Pat Beverly is he has his role and he plays his role good. And he's one of my favorite players. But running the offense, maybe they need it. And I was looking at the free agents that's coming up. Unless they get somebody in a draft, I say, would they trade for Mike Conley? Because he has a player option for next year. I don't know if that will work. Westbrook, I don't think they're going to get Westbrook. Imagine Westbrook. They might not even make the playoffs with Westbrook. And
that won't work.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. So the bottom line is you're going to put yourself in a situation where the Clippers would be the laughing stock. They literally never made the Western Conference. So if you lose next year, you know damn well Kawhi is going to opt out. Paul George is going to opt out. They're not going to sit there and rebuild. So you're going to have a broken team with a whole lot of money to give, and nobody's going to want to play for you in a sense. The only thing that they'll be playing for is like, oh, I want to play in LA. LA is a wonderful city, but playing in LA is not for everybody. And people was explaining that to Kawhi. Now, Kawhi, hopefully he does go. I like Kawhi. That's my dog. I just thought that he lost, but I can see that last year, if you look at the game, he was limping during the games, bro. He was limping during the games. He's not a robot. His body is breaking down. We already know about his body. And in order to be superbly athlete as far as playing both ways, you have to have supreme conditioning. And that's why a lot of players is based on effort. So if you got more conditioning, then you are able to give in the effort. So subconsciously, if you don't have that supreme confidence in your conditioning, you're not going to go be running for loose balls and different things like that, the way great defensive players be. So Kawhi Leonard, hopefully his health continues to get better because this, like I said, they almost 30. So it's 10 years in the NBA is a lot, especially when you've been dealing with injuries and especially with everybody else is getting better and better. Like Memphis, they fuck around, lose to Memphis in the first round. Ja Morant might beat them, bro. You can't play around like that no more because their level of invincibility is gone now. So teams is going to play you because you're a big name. The games is going to be on television. Every team that you play is going to be coming at you. Now they might try to do that. Not play Kawhi like 60 games next year and just hope for home court advantage. But Doc Rivers, let him be an analyst with Charles Barkley for like a season or two. I think he was doing that before. Let him work for ESPN or something, or let him start his YouTube podcast channel so he can sit down and see what he needs to work on, because that's not acceptable, bro. I see if it happened one time, like they continuously do it over and over. And Luis went way back to Celtics. I was being nice and just went to the Clippers. And it's something going on. Like, just like we say something going on with Westbrook, how you always trying to fight, it's something psychological. I think I might have to go to psychology school and they'll start calling me Dr. Jalik so I can be like a sports psychologist to help these guys out. But I mean, that's all I have on there. But I don't play games like that. I can see stuff ahead of time. I'm not playing with them because they're going to be a garbage team. Watch. And they're not going to get no TV dates. The Clippers going to be garbage if they don't fire him now. Everybody going to leave.
All right. Now you're being extreme. And this whole aura invincibility is gone. again, all of the events that's associated behind this season tells us that they're afforded another year. So let's move on to the next topic. The Los Angeles Lakers. And a prediction, King strikes again. And a prediction, King strikes again. See? LeBron Tars, listen. Attention. Pay attention and freaking listen. LeBron James is going to win the 4th NBA title in an NBA fraudulent, fluky, on-the-spot NBA title, least path of resistance NBA title, because the bottom line is this. When you see LeBron is smiling in the NBA playoffs, that's the things that make you say, LeBron don't smile in the NBA playoffs. LeBron, he cringes or he cringes in the NBA playoffs. This guy's smiling. You didn't see LeBron's emoji? You didn't see LeBron's picture about the Denver Nuggets? Because he knows basketball is about matchups. The Denver Nuggets, he's like barbecue chicken, easy peasy. He's not even looking at them like they're going to be a team that's going to give them problems. Because from a matchup perspective, and I know it's weird saying that because the Denver Nuggets beat the Los Angeles Clippers. Bottom line is, from a matchup perspective, the Clippers are more of a nightmare for the Lakers than the Denver Nuggets are. And the Lakers are just loving this because they're like, man, we played Portland Trailblazers. We played Houston Rockets. Now we playing Denver Nuggets. Hey, man, this is how you know when a season is meant for LeBron James to win, because the cards are stacked in his favor. He's always had a situation where it's easy for him. Anybody that thinks that the Denver Nuggets are going to give the Los Angeles Lakers problems in the Western Conference Finals, y'all sadly mistaken. Can this go to 6 games? Yes, but they ain't winning this damn series. I can book that. I can guarantee that, because NBA Nike got too much invested in LeBron James that they're going to make sure that LeBron James don't lose. They need LeBron to win this 4th title. And guess what, Richy Rich? Guess what, Jalik the leader? Guess what, Lewis? This is right before next year when we're going to get the showdown between Kevin Durant and, dare I say it, Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi Leonard is not down and out yet. We got to wait and see what he's going to do when he turns around next year, because I expect that tandem to be a tandem that's going to do their things for the next 3 years in terms of both of them running the league roughshod. But this year, LeBron James, they're like, you know what, LeBron? This is your last cocoon. This is your last opportunity to get that 4th ring and ride it to the win. That's what's going to happen. They're playing against the Denver Nuggets. Matchup-wise, listen, Joker can't keep up with AD. Let's just keep it a buck. AD going to be too athletic for this motherfucker. Joker's going to have to go out there and try to guard him, and AD is just going to basically be using his athleticism against him. And on the opposite end, we know Joker's bigger and all that other stuff. But when we look at what they both bring to the table, AD's going to win that matchup. They don't got nobody in small forward that could guard LeBron. That's obvious. So right there, the Denver Nuggets are at a clear mismatch. And I feel like the Denver Nuggets are going to be in for a rude awakening. Jamal Murray, this is what you're doing now. I see you. You running your fucking mouth. You getting after Shaq. You getting after Kenny. Why don't you just keep playing basketball? You want to keep showing us that we're wrong? Keep fucking playing basketball. Don't start running your mouth. Because, you know, when you start running your mouth, you know what happens with that. See, Jamal Murray done fucked up because he was like this, and now he's doing this. And guess what happens when your ass loses to the Los Angeles Lakers? Are you going to say, well, we came back from 3-1 deficit? Because that shit ain't happening. NBA Nike's going to make sure that shit. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. If a LeBron James Lakers team go up 3-1, NBA Nike will ensure that the ref calls go so much in their favor that there ain't going to be no 3-1 deficit. Because they're going to make sure LeBron don't lose in that fashion. I can guarantee that. If I can't guarantee anything, I can guarantee that. There's no way no damn Jamal Murray and some damn Denver Nuggets is beating some Los Angeles Lakers. What you got to say, Richy?
I mean, that's what it looks like, man. I mean, in the regular season, yeah, the Lakers have owned Denver in those matchups. And when we seen those games between Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis has always got the best of Nikola. So, I mean, the Lakers are going to be heavy favorites to win this series. But Denver is playing with a different type of energy, man. They got confidence. I don't think they're going to win the series, but I think they're just going to make it tough on the Lakers. And the Lakers are most likely will be representing the Western Conference. They're going to be in the finals as the Western Conference representative. So he knows it's talking about the NBA and Nike. I mean, they might have something to do with it, but I just think the Lakers are just a better team. They're gonna be better than Denver. Denver that has no one to guard LeBron, like said, which is true. You're gonna probably see Jeremy Grant, Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr. Those are the guys that are gonna be on LeBron. You probably even gonna see Paul Millsap on him. But LeBron is going to, he's going to get his points. He's going to get his calls. We look at the role players, the Lakers got better role players. Dwight Howard, he wasn't a factor in last series because they decided to go small ball, but the Lakers are going to go big this series because Denver has big guys. And Dwight is going to be able to be a factor in this series. He's going to get rebounds and he's going to block shots. JaVale McGee, he's going to be playing in this series. He's going to block shots. He's going to get rebounds. They have the advantage on the big man side. They just have too many that are going to impact the series. LeBron is going to impact the series. Rajon Rondo, he's still playing. The corpse of Rajon Rondo is still alive and well. That man could still run a team, man. So hey, you don't ever underestimate a dude like that, man. Even though his body has failed him. He's picked up all these injuries over the past few years. That dude still looks like a really good point guard. So you're going to see a difference. The Clippers weren't able to they didn't have a good point guard like that. So the Lakers have that benefit of having a guy that can find other players besides LeBron. So that's going to play. Denver's defense, they're not going to be able to just throw, double teams at people because the Lakers have two guys that can find people. So, Lakers are going to be able to exploit that team better than how the Clippers. Clippers should have won now. I'm not saying the Clippers choked. They should have won. They were up 3-1, but they didn't have nobody that could really play a true point guard the way Rajon Rondo is. Rajon Rondo can find people that you normally, and if you just play in a system, that guy could just find people, man, in certain ways that other people can't really find people. So Lakers have that advantage over Denver already. So I expect it to be a competitive series, but Lakers are going to win that series. It could be 5 games, it could be 6. I'm leaning more on 6 games because Denver is a battle-tested team, man, and they're not gonna I don't believe they're gonna go out and lose in 5 games. They're gonna push it to 6. They're gonna make the Lakers work hard. But Lakers are just the better team. Plain and simple.
All right, Jalik, the leader, it's time for you to slurp on LeBron, dog, and showcase your LeBron part. What's your take? What's your take on the Lakers and the Nuggets?
Oh yeah, I say they good for at least 2 games, the Nuggets, because they playing off a high right now and they super confident. But we all know it's a business in a sense. So I think the Lakers, the AD versus Jokic matchup, for the sake of sports and because remember he's a free agent as well. So he probably re-signed, but they looking at LeBron's age. But the Joker is real confident. AD is way more athletic, but I like the way the Joker slows the game down. I like the way they play. They don't play running all fast and try to do everything fast, shooting a whole lot of threes. So they slow the game down, do pick and rolls. They got them outside. So that's going to be real interesting. Now, AD is going to do his thing. So hopefully you don't get in foul trouble. So I got the Lakers winning about 6 or 7, but I definitely don't see the Nuggets winning. Like I said, they remind me of the 2010-11 Oklahoma City. They was there. They're arriving, but they just like one year away before they get over the hump. They're making it to the actual finals. So LeBron James is going to do his thing, and so everybody else is going to have to step up. Though it's not going to just be LeBron. We talked about the X factors before. You got Rondo, you got what's his name, Caldwell Pope. You got Kyle Kuzma, who hasn't been. I think is his 3rd season. He playing for a contract too, bro. They probably he might be a restricted free agent if they don't. I don't know if he signed his 4th or 5th year deal yet because he didn't really do too well like I thought he should. So I don't know if it's just I don't know what that is. Are they going to try to trade him? But Anthony Davis is going to do his thing. Hopefully he don't get hurt. That's all I'm going to say, because even being hurt ain't no excuse right now because Jamal Murray is technically hurt. I heard the Joker was hurt. So I got him in 6 or 7 games. But it's going to be a fascinating it's going to be a good series, bro. It's going to be a good series. And if LeBron James, I'm not going to make no excuses for him. You know, I'm not an extremist LeBron star. You know what I'm saying? I just think he the GOAT. You know what I mean? I already broke that down for you. But at the end of the day,
if you think he the GOAT, you're a LeBron tard. That in of alone qualifies you as a LeBron tard.
Come on, folks.
And you're a LeBron tard if you say he's the GOAT. That qualifies you right there.
Right. But one thing I did notice is how you got excuses on there. Talk about asterisk. So if he get 4 rings, then it's no matter what he do, it's always going to be something. So it's
that's not a free excuse. It's a fact. It's the fact,
bro. I picked
a weak ass season. It's weak. It's weak as fuck.
To win it all, bro. I said the Clippers and the Celtics in the finals. So I didn't pick the LeBron. I said they can do it, but the way they was playing. So I'm not that type dude, bro. Just because I think you good, I'm just gonna automatically pick you. I'm not gonna do that. And I didn't make excuses last year for when he got hurt. They just lost. But I know he's a better winner. I mean, every time I don't want to get into this, but all you got to ask these Jordan fanboys why he ain't win before Phil Jackson came, or why
he only bringing up Jordan. He only bringing up Jordan because I struck a nerve, dog. That last time I either murked you and I brought up LeBron, I struck a nerve.
Why he can't win? He continues.
What does Jordan have to do with this, man? We talking LeBron James and the Denver Nuggets, dog. Stop going on.
You started that. He in the Western Conference Finals now. Give him some credit, bro. That's all.
Thank you. I love this game. Just like you said, 4 out of 10 still isn't GOAT. Now, Jalik, you going off kilter now. Lewis, close the show on this topic.
Yeah.
Let Lewis close the show on this topic. You're going off kilter right now.
All right, man. I'm gonna keep it on the focus on the Nuggets and the Lakers. Listen, got to give the Lakers their due. When you look at the matchups that they have with Portland, and then when you have with Houston. A lot of people were riding high because they thought that the Lakers were going to be in trouble just because Portland got hot in the bubble and it was going to give them problems. And I said before, Portland was not a good defensive team. And I said that Damian Lillard is just a scorer. Like, you can't count on him to defend and really impact. He can only really impact the game on scoring. So I said that series was over in 5. People were coming at me saying that, you was picking the Blazers and, getting hyped that they could give them problems. I said, they're not intelligent enough to beat the Lakers anyway. I said, even if they didn't have Miles Leonard or Nurkic, they're not a good defensive team. They were the worst defensive team in the bubble. So I knew that series was going to be over. Bron and AD, they just dominated. So I give them credit. And then in that series against Houston, we talking about 2 high octane betas. Russell Westbrook laying a brick house, turning the ball over like a turnover machine. And then the Zab Judah, James Harden. So, I mean, the Tony Romo of the NBA. So, I'm not, like I said, I wasn't surprised that those guys got it done. People were saying, the Houston Rockets. I said this many times. Are you really going to trust James Harden or James Softon, Russell Westbrook, and Mike No D'Antoni, the Pringle Man? I said no. It was inevitable that they were going to lose. So, they were saying, the Rockets are going to beat the Lakers. I said, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because, again, that team is just not intelligent enough, and they play the same. And Daryl Morey had a lot to do with that. And the reason the Rockets lost too much of the analytics. Now, get into the Lakers-Nuggets series. Mm-hmm. The way I see this is Denver's coming off a high. I could see the Lakers losing the first game just because they've had a lot of rest. So it might be another feel-out game like they've done the first 2 series against Portland and Houston. The Nuggets are going to come up with that emotional high and probably maybe beat them in that first game. Then I possibly see the Lakers taking a 2-1 lead, LeBron and AD dominating because, like as Hino said, they don't have a matchup for Bron or AD. And even if the Nuggets decide to double team, Bron and you got Rondo, who I thought was impactful in that Houston series. So give him credit. So they got 2 guys that can see the floor. And the thing is, this is where you're going to see Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee because remember, the Lakers went small with AD at center, and the Rockets had no answer for that once they did that, it was over for Houston. That's idiotic small ball came back to bite them in the ass. So with Denver, their best shot to beating the Lakers, they got to push the pace. They can't play half court. The reason that they was able to, because they were also able to do it to the Clippers and slow it down, but that's because the Clippers were terrible defensively in the half court with their pick and roll defense, and in transition, whenever the Clippers would miss shots, you would see the Clippers, they would trot back. So the Lakers the difference now is that Jokic just has to deal with AD. You're going to see Dwight Howard, and you're going to see JaVale McGee in this series. So those are three bigs that they can put at Joker. And Jamal Murray is going to see more doubles because the Clippers were supposed to do that to him, and he struggled. But the thing was, he got going late, and the Clippers' lack of conditioning. So Jalik did make a good point on that one. The conditioning was really starting to show with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And Patrick Beverley also was terrible defensively against Jamal Murray. Patrick Beverley allowed him to be the best player on the floor in the last 3 games of that series. The thing is also they really don't have like somebody consistently other than Jokic from the big spot, because Bobo, he's good, but he's raw. Mason Plumlee is just a high energy player. He does pick and roll, just to the basket. He's not going to give you a consistent scoring. Jeremy Grant, 1 minute he could give you a good amount of points shooting. He's a good defender, but the thing is they don't have nobody to consistently stay front with AD, and they have nobody that can stay in front of Bron. And Murray's going to see more doubles. And I think as the series go on, the Nuggets might start to wear down. Even if they're young, you're playing back-to-back 7-game series, man. It is going to take its toll on you. And it's crazy that the Clippers really didn't take advantage of that. That's what's so disheartening about them losing in 7, because the Nuggets were more tired than they were. And the Clippers actually started to show more fatigue as the series went longer. So that's on them. But I see the Lakers beating this Nuggets team probably in 6 games, because what the Lakers should not do, they should not sleep on this Nuggets team, because if the Lakers look like vulnerable in the pick and roll like the Clippers did against them, that series is going to go longer than they expect. And it's the crazy part. Here's the crazy part now. The Clippers are going to get, it's probably not going to be as bad for the Clippers if the Lakers end up losing the conference finals to the Denver Nuggets. Because what he knows was saying, like, LeBron was smiling like it's barbecue chicken season now that the Clippers are gone. And you got the Denver Nuggets, because the Denver Nuggets, they don't really match up well with the Lakers. They can give them problems if Denver pushes the pace and the Lakers can't stop their different sets of pick and roll and pick and pop sets. But if the Lakers stop it, then this is gonna be a quick series. But I think the Lakers will beat them in 6. I think Denver will make it tough. I can see the Lakers going up 2-1. Denver ties the series, and then the Lakers win the last 2 games to represent the West. It's like we were saying, it's a business. So they're trying to recoup the investment of the $90 million that's invested in LeBron James. So if they do go up 3-1, like Hino says, and Jalik even mentioned it too, in terms of from a business standpoint, you got to look at it. I will say this, though, the ratings to me are going to go, I think if the Denver Nuggets can make this series exciting, the ratings might not be so bad. But remember, the ratings were going to be much higher had the Clippers beat the Nuggets, because we would have had that LA versus LA matchup. And money-wise, that would have been gold for the NBA if they would have took advantage of that matchup. But we got the Nuggets instead, though. And it's a good story. And give the Nuggets a lot of credit. I really like their team. But I see this Laker team beating them in 6 games. No matchup for AD, no matchup for LeBron. And I even think that even I could see Kyle Kuzma feasting in this series just because of the attention that LeBron and AD are going to get. Because now what you got to ask yourself for Denver is, because remember, Michael Porter Jr. struggled the last 2 games of this series. Is he going to be able to step up? Obviously, I said about Jeremy Grant. I think Will Barton might be coming back, but it's like it's going to take him a while. It's going to take him obviously time to even get himself conditioned back to what he once was. Gary Harris is coming off that hip injury, so a lot is going to be expected out of Murray and Jokic. So Mike Malone is going to have to figure out how to get the most out of everybody and not really expend Jokic and Murray too much, because they're coming off back-to-back 7-game series. But to close out, I think the Lakers, they beat them in 6. Like I said, I got the Nuggets winning that first game. This is the way I'm gonna predict it. They win the first game, LA wins the next two, Denver ties the series up, and the Lakers close out the last two games, and the Lakers will represent the West. Now, if I get a shocker, it's going to look bad because then it's like we won't be talking as much about the Clippers as we talk about LeBron if he loses this series. But I don't see that happening. So I got the Lakers in 6.
And just to add on to your point, and Jalik, you better keep that same energy, though. If the Lakers fuck around and lose, I better hear everything that you said about the Clippers. I better hear that same shit about the Lakers. I don't want to hear no damn excuses. I better hear Coach better be fired. I better hear LeBron. You better blow up, just like you saying they had to get rid of Paul George. I better hear you say get rid of Anthony Davis. You got to say all of the same shit. All the same shit.
Anthony Davis to a long-term deal. I wouldn't sign him, bro. He too fragile. I wouldn't sign him to no 5-year deal. 2 years, but not.
I'm just saying, I want to hear the same conversation.
Oh, yeah, trust me,
I will remember today's conversation if the Lakers would turn around and lose, but you won't have to worry about that.
Was good,
we know what time it is with LeBron. They want LeBron to win at any means necessary. So you ain't got to worry about that. Matter of fact, at the end of this year, you can gloat. You can say LeBron won 4 out of 10. And then I'll turn around and ether and murk that and say that's a 40% NBA Finals average. And that's so lame. I'll be ready to tell you that shit. But anyways, you could tell me that he's 4 for 10 when it's all said and done. Now let's jump on to the next topic because we got to talk about this, man. The Miami Heat. We're gonna do this in reverse mode. We're gonna start off with Lewis and then we're gonna back it up through Richy Rich. The Miami Heat is a team defensively that ain't nothing to play with, man. That team right there is the most conditioned team in basketball. If you're talking about conditioning, Jalik, and you're talking about what the Miami Heat bring to the table in terms of them being a team that is a stimulus package team, it's time to put respect on their name because me and Lewis was telling your ass, Eric Spoelstra, the guy that you said that wasn't supposedly a legendary coach, look at what he's doing. If you all about X's and O's, you all getting on Doc Rivers. You better keep that same energy about Eric Spoelstra, dog, because they exposed in the last round. The Miami Heat turned around and exposed and got to the Western Conference Finals. They exposed the Milwaukee Bucks. So keep that same energy about the Miami Heat. Keep that same energy about Eric Spoelstra. Lewis, I want your take on the Miami Heat and what you see potentially for this series between them and the Boston Celtics and how this 7-game series is going to play out.
Well, I got to give credit to the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. I'm a little bit concerned about the Boston Celtics because they almost blew that series against the Toronto Raptors in a series that they should have swept. And they blew a couple of double-digit leads in that series, even though they had blowouts in that one. They had a 14-point lead, and Miami came back. And first of all, got to give them a lot of credit. They're showing that Miami Heat culture. They keep the intensity. They never feel like they're out of a game. They just execute, despite the fact that they don't have a superstar. Is what I'm impressed about this team. They do it collectively. They got 3-point shooting. This is another team also that's played well down the stretch of games in this bubble. And, Boston is going to have to make some adjustments coming up. But Jimmy Butler, man, he deserves my props because he's showing you that even though he has not had big scoring games in this bubble, when you need him the most, Jimmy Butler's been there. He's been clutch. He gets you big baskets. He makes big plays on defense. And give credit to Bam Adebayo. That huge block he had on Jason Tatum in game 1 that saved the game in overtime, it was huge. And the fact that Eric Spoelstra continues to make adjustments. See, that's the thing I love about Eric Spoelstra. He just doesn't settle. When he sees something that doesn't work, he goes to the drawing board and finds a way to try to make an adjustment. And he's always looking. And to me, that's the mark of a great coach. Because the thing is, you work with the talent. See, that's the thing with Eric Spoelstra. He works with the talent that he's got. Whether he's made the playoffs, whether he's missed the playoffs just barely, Eric Spoelstra always has his guys playing hard, and he's always coaching. And you got to give Eric Spoelstra a lot of credit, and give a lot of credit to the players. Tyler Hero, Kelly Olynyk. This Miami Heat team, I said, was a dark horse. The funny thing is, man, I said, they can possibly make the playoffs. I did not expect them to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that's a huge credit to the coaching staff and the players just staying ready. This team is impressed me a lot. And like I said, they're a superstar away from possibly becoming NBA champions, not just contending for a championship, but winning an NBA title. And I can see that with the Miami Heat because they pretty much they have the culture. See, a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, he needs that kind of culture because Miami, they have more reliable parts than they do in Milwaukee. And I kept saying it before. I said Milwaukee is kind of fool's gold when you look at guys like Chris Middleton and you look at Giannis in terms of the fact that Giannis does not have a jump shot. Mm-hmm. He's really more of a, even though he looks like he plays with power. There's times where he kind of plays with a lot of finesse too. When you look at his game, he doesn't develop a post game, which I feel like if he has some skills in the if he had a post game in the post, that would definitely help him. I think to see the floor better when he sees doubles, he could pretty much kick it out to shooters. But Giannis needs a culture like the Miami Heat, which is why I think somehow, some way, he possibly might go there. I know some people say no, but Miami is actually what he needs. He has a great coach that constantly makes adjustments. Mike Budenholzer was not doing that with Giannis, and that's another reason why they lost. Because the coach that they have is a regular season coach. You could tell that Erik Spoelstra is built for the playoffs. Whether he goes far or not, though, he is not a guy who sits still, and he makes many adjustments. So I got to give him a lot of credit, and this is why I said that if he he just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without a superstar player. When we picked the Bucks to beat, the Heat, they ram-a-langed them in 5 games. So they gentlemen swept them. And the crazy part is that they got a shot to go to the NBA Finals. And the funny thing is I picked the Celtics in this series because of the Tatum, Jaylen Brown factor. And, the bigs that the Boston players have off the bench with Marcus Smart defensively. But then when you come back with Miami, it's like they, to me, show more mental fortitude that I think that they have an opportunity to get to the NBA Finals. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this series ends up playing out. Game 2 is on Thursday, and I plan on doing that game, doing commentary on that. But if Miami can get by Boston and represent the East, that's going to be crazy because people can't ever question to say Erik Spoelstra is not a great coach. He took a team without a superstar to the NBA Finals. It's got a collection of a great team. And when I look at that Miami Heat team, they give me a small resemblance, not a complete resemblance, but a small resemblance of the Detroit Pistons. And I say that because of the 04 team. They play together. They play great defense. They play as a team. That's what that impresses me about the Heat the most. They play as a team. They never try to get out of character. And it's like when they try to, Erik Spoelstra keeps them in line. And so when he lets you know that he messes up, and again, that's the mark of a great coach, continuing to hold guys accountable. And that's what I like about Erik Spoelstra a lot. So I'm impressed with the Miami Heat. I got to see what adjustment Boston makes. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're going to have to bring their A game because I feel like Miami is even tougher than Toronto. Unless if you had a player like a Kawhi Leonard on that team, which I got to say in a little bit, Kawhi Leonard actually was in a better situation with the Raptors. Obviously the season didn't plan out the way that it happened, obviously with the Clippers. But what I'm just saying is that if you look at the components, and then if you look at that Eastern Conference, yeah, it's improved. But I think Toronto would have been in an even better position probably to represent the East again if he was on that team. But getting back to Miami, like I said, I just got to give props and credit where credit is due. And I said that Miami, with the way that they surprise people, I picked them to be a dark horse team to come out of the Eastern Conference. And right now, that's what it's looking like right now. And they got the opportunity to make a lot of noise and represent the East. And wouldn't it be so ironic, and I close out with this, wouldn't it be ironic if the Lakers come out of the West and LeBron's going against his former coach? Now, I would, if they match up, I think the Lakers will win the series. But trust me, Erik Spoelstra, he is going to come with many different defensive schemes and different looks that they will throw, to the Lakers, and in particular, and how to guard LeBron. Now, obviously, AD is a tougher matchup because Miami doesn't really have the bigs to contend with him once you exclude Bam. But man, that would be interesting if the LeBron faces his former team, where LeBron won 2 championships over there. So, but yeah, man, this Miami-Boston Celtics series is going to be very interesting. I see it going 7. I got Boston winning this series, but I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins the series, because then also the NBA could also look at that Lakers versus Celtics NBA Finals. And remember, it was 10 years ago in 2010 that Kobe and the Lakers went up against KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, and those Boston Celtics. So the NBA could also be looking at it from that perspective too. So that's my take on it.
All right, Jalik the leader, what's your take on the series?
Yeah, I think this one gonna go down about 6 or 7, and they continuously impressing me. Miami, I think I might have spoke too soon, but Kemba Walker keep making excuses. I gotta give him the heat too. He keeps saying it. I gotta play better. Just do it, bro. We know it. He said it the other game. That last play when he went for the dunk, I thought he should have shot a floater. Jason Tatum, but he went for the dunk and dude made that block. That was a good ass block, bro. But I thought he should do a floater, and he might not have. He probably would have made it. Also got like some type of goaltending, but dude, defense was on point. And Jimmy Butler, bro, like I said weeks ago, he proved me wrong, bro. I gotta, bro. He doing way better, but I like the way he slowed the ball game down again. These 3-point shooting super fire teams, they got some good, but they still play regular basketball where they're going in paint, slow the game down, and do the best that they can. I like Hero, the 6'5", the guard from Kentucky. I like Hero, and like Luis said, they play together as a team, and that's what you got to give the coach your credit for, because I can tell you if Eric Spoelstra was the coach last night, the Clippers probably would win the chip, but he knows his sports. He doesn't really get that part, but one day he'll learn. But I got the that's hard to say from a marketing. Lakers and Celtics is there, but this one I don't know who's gonna win this one. It's gonna go 6 or 7 because they match up very, very well. This is a fun series as well. This is a real good series, bro, because Jimmy Butler is their X factor. Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, is better than Jason Tatum, and he's better than Jaylen Brown. So that might get him over the edge, but I gotta see it a little bit more. But it's 100% going to 6 or 7 games, because didn't that game go into overtime? So each game is going to be a nail biter. So this is a good series for basketball. So we'll see how this goes, and it's probably going. I say Lakers, whatever way. LeBron won't get credit, but that's okay though, because men lie, women lie, and what? What's the third one? He knows the sport. Men lie, women lie, and what?
Numbers don't.
All right. So 4 championship rings at 35, bro, and still going.
Yeah, numbers don't lie. 40% NBA Finals average. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. You got to learn with me, man. Every time you say something, I got a counter for it. So you got to just leave it alone, though. I always have a counter. Leave it alone. Richy Rich, man, what's your take on it, man?
Yeah, Jalik, just for that'd still be under 50%. That's 40%, man.
He's a better winner.
That's not cutting it.
His winning percentage is better than Jordan.
That's not cutting it, man. That's still not cutting.
Y'all don't got no answer for that. You don't win before Phil Jackson, but y'all make up excuses and go back to that one.
You just buffered up Eric Spoelstra, right? Didn't you just do that?
I didn't.
Said if Eric Spoelstra was playing instead of Doc Rivers, so basically, by your own admittance, Eric Spoelstra is a legendary coach.
I'm not saying that because at the time that he was playing, he wasn't a Hall of Fame coach in 2011 and 12. He wasn't. He's developing to that. So I
love his game. Dropped the napalm on you. 6 rings at 35 compared to 4.
Phil Jackson was already a Hall of Fame coach, and he was a Hall of Fame player with the Knicks. So it's a different. It's not my fault. LeBron don't.
Phil Jackson was a Hall of Fame coach when he.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't a. He was a Hall of Fame coach, and he won 6 chips with Jordan, and then he won with LeBron. We was talking about that, like his Hall of Fameness was there. Phil Jackson is a good coach. I don't want to take away nothing from Jordan. He's a good player. I don't wear Jordans. I like Bo Jacksons. I don't buy Jordans. I like Bo Jacksons better, but it is what it is. LeBron, I mean, it's all good. Bro.
Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan is good. That tells me you are the ultimate LeBron chart.
No,
when you say good with Phil Jackson and you say good with Michael Jordan, that's LeBron chart material. When you think of Phil Jackson, that's arguably the greatest coach of all time, right there with Red Auerbach. When you think of Michael Jordan, you have to say GOAT. If you don't say that, then you LeBron tarding me right now, man. That's what I'm getting. LeBron tard material from you. So Higgity, hush, man.
Are you admitting that Jordan needs Phil Jackson? Are you admitting that Jordan needed Phil Jackson to be
all great players need great coaches in order for them to exceed?
Okay,
That's why LeBron James. That's why LeBron James won, because he had Eric.
Let me tell you what I got to say.
Is Tyrone a great coach? Yes or no? Tyrone Lue, great coach.
We're not talking about Tyrone Lue. We're talking about it doesn't matter with Tyrone Lue. We're talking about how LeBron. Hold up, Jalik. How LeBron initially won. A legendary coach. Eric Spoelstra learned at the feet master of Pat Riley. So you are eliminated. You are eliminated when you bring that point up, because every great player has won from every great coach. And one thing that you don't know, because you don't understand the inner workings of the Miami Heat, is that Pat Riley used to yank LeBron James' ass and call him up every time when he fucked up. So you didn't know this. He would have him, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Ball sit down and run X's and O's with them. You didn't know this. So Pat Riley basically taught LeBron James the game of basketball. Again, diggity.
But he got to the.
Go ahead, dog. Your point, man.
All right, man. The Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, man. That's good. It has the makings of a long series, man. Because you see these teams, man. They're battling from start to finish. You know, and Boston Celtics, they were up in the fourth quarter. They brought those same bad habits that they carried over those same bad habits that they had in Toronto Raptors series into this series. And this is why Miami Heat was able to get the win. Miami Heat is they can't play like that against the Miami Heat, man, because Miami Heat, they're a gutsy team, man. A team that plays with a lot of moxie. You know those guys, man. They're gonna play from start to finish. They're probably the last best well-conditioned team left in this bubble, this playoff bubble. Jimmy Butler, man, he's doing his thing. You know, he's actually, found a home. He's playing like a leader. Those other guys, Goran Dragic, man, wow. Goran Dragic he's one of those guys, man, as he consistently does his job well, man. That guy, he's the contract he's playing at, man, is a bargain. That's all I gotta say. From the output they get out of Goran Dragic, man, you don't get a lot of output from guys getting paid what he's getting paid in the NBA. There's only few guys you see actually doing what Dragic is doing. Bam Adebayo, man, that's a solid player, man. He keeps growing into his own. Tyler Hero, they got a lot of guys. None, man. Jay Crowder hitting those threes. Andre Iguodala. You know, if I had it my way, out of these two teams to come out the East, if the Lakers are going to be the representatives on the Western Conference, I would want it to be the Heat, because they're more of a veteran team, and they obviously the Pat Riley and coach the Eric Spoelstra factor. They're familiar with LeBron. They know LeBron, and they have vets. They have guys that have defended against LeBron throughout their career, especially Iguodala, man. Iguodala's beat LeBron in a few final settings, man. He knows LeBron's tendencies. You got Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy Butler, if he gets to that point in his career where he's in the finals, man, he's the guy that always, is left behind when they talk about LeBron, KD, Kawhi. He's not mentioned amongst those guys. If he's able to win a finals, at first he gotta get past this series. He gotta beat the Boston Celtics. But let's say if he does get past those guys, he would be playing most likely the Lakers. If he beats LeBron James in that final setting, we're gonna put him in that argument now. The media is gonna put Jimmy Butler in that argument. He's gonna be amongst those elite wingmen finally, man, and deservingly so. He would deserve that spot. So I would like Jimmy to go to get to the finals, man, and see what he can do, man. If he's gonna be the one to face LeBron, because listen, man, Jimmy got numbers on his team. He got Iguodala there, man. He got Jay Crowder. These guys, just like I Love This Game was talking about. She putting in a few posts earlier, where she was talking about the Heat aspect of Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, and like me, I'm bringing up those veterans, man. Those veterans could pay huge dividends in a series like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the Heat will win, man, but they would have a puncher's chance. But first, they got to handle business against the Celtics, and the Celtics have some talent, man. The Celtics have players that are gonna make this series a very fought out series, and it could go either way. But the Heat looks like they might have the edge, man, because of the coaching. I think the Heat's coaching is better than what Boston coaching with the coaching that's coming out of Boston, and I think there's more veterans on the Heat, and that's gonna impact this series, and the Heat are probably gonna win this series most likely because of that aspect. They have more veterans, and you see it. You know, the Heat were trailing in that series for most of the game, and they were able to come back because of timely plays, man. Timely vet decision plays. Obviously, Bam Adebayo made that key block at the end, man. But their team, their coach is gonna hold them accountable. Eric Spoelstra, man, there's a play where I saw that Duncan, their 3-point sniper, he didn't hit a shot, a 3-point shot, or he didn't shoot a shot that he was supposed to shoot. And you saw Eric Spoelstra screaming at him, man, from the side of a bench, telling him where he needed to be at and not to hesitate to shoot his shot. You know, Eric Spoelstra is a coach like Lewis mentioned. He's gonna hold his guys accountable because Eric Spoelstra is a gym rat. He's a guy. He's probably after a game, man. That guy's probably watching film for hours and hours and hours, trying to see what went on or what worked right in a play. That's what he is. That's where he first got his calling card. He was a film room guy. So he's a guy that is able to study tape, break down tape, and that's made him into the coach that he is. He knows how to properly break things down or see things, So I'm hoping, man, that this series continues to live on like as it's lived on as game one, and this series goes the distance, man, because it's only gonna be more exciting for us to watch a series like this, because the Heat, man, they're definitely gonna pay dividends, and I think they're the best team to represent the East, because I want to see that showdown between them and the Lakers, man, because I've always wanted to see that showdown. When LeBron left the Heat and it was just D-Wade, Chris Bosh, and when they had Hassan Whiteside, a younger Hassan Whiteside, but the Heat had injuries and they lost to the Toronto Raptors. I thought the Heat had a great chance to get to the finals or the Eastern Conference Finals and face LeBron James. But this is a great opportunity for them to get to those finals. And wouldn't it be great if Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley was able to beat LeBron in the series? They'd be able to get back at him for leaving them boys high and dry. That would be great, man. Listen, the Clippers lost. We weren't expecting that. You got Hino saying that the NBA and Nike are in cahoots, man, for that LeBron James $90 million invest. But wouldn't it be great if the Heat ruined that opportunity for the NBA and Nike? I want to see something like that, man. There's been moments where the league has rigged it up for a team or rigged it up for a player, and it didn't go its way because a team was just doing what they were supposed to do, like the Orlando Magic against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that in that series that they were kind of favoring LeBron James. They were calling some crazy calls in that series. But Orlando Magic, man, were just hitting Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu. I don't know if you guys remember watching that series. Those guys were just hitting timely clutch threes, man, to edge out, come out and edge out those games. And they ruined things for the Cavs because we saw those commercials. You remember those puppets where it was Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. They always had those puppets. They were anticipating those two guys being in the finals. but the Orlando Magic ruined it, man. Because those guys, they could listen. You can't. You can't do anything. You could do all the rigging you want, but if a team is just hitting clutch baskets, you can't rig that. You can't rig that. So, Miami Heat, if they take care of business against Boston, they got a great chance to ruin LeBron James' so-called fourth title. Because everybody they just parting the sea for LeBron right now. Since the Clippers are out of it, they just parting the sea right now. They're saying LeBron got this easy path to a fourth championship. But listen, I'm saying if the Heat get in there, man, they got a deep team. They got multiple wing defenders, man, that they could throw at this dude. Bam Adebayo, I don't know if he's ready to go toe to toe with AD yet, but I would be excited to see that matchup in a 7-game series. That's all I'm saying. But this series is going to continue to be exciting. But the Heat, their veteran core and their who they have as a coach and who's the head of the snake, Pat Riley, I think that gives them the edge. But this series is going the distance.
Okay, great points, man. So closing thoughts on NBA Finals prediction. We're just gonna go ahead and start out with Jalik, the leader. Who do you see winning the NBA Finals and why?
I see LeBron winning. I see LeBron in it. Granted, no injuries come up because we got to take into account injuries. Like sometimes major injuries come up that change the whole face of the game, and it switches things around. I got LeBron, winning his fourth ring. He probably passed. Shout out to I Love This Game. He winning scoring titles. LeBron about to have the most points in the history of the league. So, I don't know if anybody ever passed that one, but I see LeBron winning. It's gonna be interesting. Both teams that they play is gonna be interesting. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't even want to. Let me hold off on that because the Nuggets, bro. They arrived, bro. I can't even. That's like almost disrespectful.
No. We don't do 50-50s over here, man.
Nah, bro.
You lay on a position, dog.
Nah,
that bad boy with confidence and fortitude.
Now,
again, who's your pick and why?
I say the Lakers, but if the Nuggets beat the Lakers, I'm not gonna be surprised. I'm not gonna be surprised no more what the Nuggets do because
what you just did is you created a bailout. We don't want bailout.
Lakers winning.
Who's the team gonna win and why?
I got the Lakers winning in like 5 or 6 because they are an older team though. So Rich, I think it was you mentioned that somebody might get tired, but their legs is younger. The Lakers, if anybody worrying about getting tired, it'd be the Lakers. They older than all those other teams, so they can outdo it. And they also had 4 or 5 months without playing. So LeBron is the one that has to be concerned about getting tired. But I got LeBron winning his 4th chip, and we'll see what the Lakers do. Next year. I'm not sure when the basketball season is going to start. So LeBron against probably the Celtics or something. It's the Celtics, and that series is going to be close. So LeBron will win again. He won't get credit, but it's all good, bro. You can't please everybody, bro.
All right. Now you give me rhetoric. Now, Richy, Lewis, what's your take on it, man? Who you got winning and why, bro?
Let me see. To win the NBA championship, you got to go with the Lakers only just because, again, it's like I feel like for me, it's like, again, they're trying to recuperate that investment, and it's like the way that things are going. Like I said, I'm not trying to say not to give LeBron credit. I said I've been consistent with this from the jump since this COVID thing happened. I said I don't care who wins the championship. This was a huge transition year. I'm not trying to piggyback and saying, if I said I didn't care if Kawhi won it. I don't care if the Celtics won it. I don't care even if the Miami Heat won it. I don't care if LeBron wins it. Like, I wanted to see good competitive basketball. We're not seeing it with any fans, and so that's obvious. So it's different. It's virtual. It's a bubble. I hear all these players talk about how uncomfortable they are. They had an opportunity to to sit out, but they chose to play. So it's obviously different, and it's something we're gonna have to get used to. And this is something that's going to go into next year, and it's probably going to be a full season before they even let fans, back in the stands. So everything had to be different. And what this bubble allowed to do is players who we probably thought weren't going to be, playing at the abundance level that we thought, they actually just got to play basketball because they didn't have to deal with hostile environments or the pressure of playing a playoff game like in their building, in their first ever playoff series. So they didn't have to deal with that. They could just ball out. Now that's obviously gonna, so now it's like they got that under their belt. Now that, the question is, how are they going to play with actual fans in the stands? That's yet to remain to be seen. But I got the Lakers winning the championship. Who they go against is dicey with Boston or Miami, because again, if they face Miami, like Rich said, how deep the Heat are. The Heat are a very good 3-point shooting team, and the Lakers are not that good of a 3-point defense. The thing with the Houston Rockets is they take a lot of threes, but again, they're streaky when it comes to their 3-point shooting. They're hot when they make it. When they're not, it's like it's a liability. You can say what you want on Portland, but once they neutralized Lillard, that offense pretty much went off the dead, and then he got injured, and they don't even really move the ball. It's a lot of isolation with him and CJ. With this Denver Nuggets team, the Nuggets are okay in terms of the 3-ball, but it really depends on how well their pick and roll game is going with Jokic, especially because they get open looks when teams decide to try to double or trap him when he's on the move. So I know Mike Malone is going to throw some different pick and roll sets in that series. It's going to see how the Lakers adjust. But like I said, I got them winning. And if I had to make a prediction in terms of the NBA championship, I'm looking at it from this aspect, and here's why. It's Kobe. 10 years ago, Kobe and the Lakers went up against the Boston Celtics. And it's part of the reason why I'm picking the Celtics to win. Miami's got a puncher's chance, like Rich said, but I feel like they're going to try to relive this Lakers-Celtic rivalry. And because it was 10 years ago to the day that Kobe and the Lakers, and that great Lakers team went up against Boston. So I feel like, to me, the NBA is going to try to piggyback off of that and try to go with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat make it to the finals, because then that would be a really interesting series, LeBron going up against his former team, because you could kind of look at Eric Spoelstra as the Greg Popovich of the East in terms of how he would design his defense to guard against the Lakers, and in particular LeBron and AD. And like Rich was saying, like I don't know if Bam would be ready to go up against AD. But like I said, they have a very good mix of young players with that veteran core group. But also remember, Udonis Haslem played with LeBron, so there will be things that he would probably tell the players on, like how to even guard LeBron too. Now, what I'm saying is, will it work? That remains to be seen. But I got the Lakers. I said it before. Whoever comes out the East, the championship is going to the Western Conference. So I got the Lakers winning this. They're going to win the championship, and NBA and Nike are going to recuperate their investment.
Facts. Richy Rich, man, what's your take? Who you got winning and why?
Obviously, man, I gotta agree with all you guys' choice winning the title. The Lakers, they would like to see LeBron. LeBron's on his he's on his last legs. He's on his way out soon, and we're waiting to make sure he can get back and win the championship. And he's gonna have 4 rings. 4 rings improves his percentage. He's still not at 50. He's at 40, which still doesn't cut it, but it does help him in a way in where he's won a title for the Los Angeles Lakers organization, and it's gonna improve his legacy somewhat. So you're gonna be like, oh, see, he was able to win for us. He was able to hold on that promise he made for Kobe. He said he promised that he was going to win a title for the Lakers and dedicate the title to Kobe Bryant. It's passive. So the fans are going to, be proud of him for that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how they're going to, if he does win, that's how they're going to reshape it and mold it and sell it, and profit from it. So that's how it's going to be given to him. But I have an open mind, especially if Miami Heat get into that final setting with LeBron James, man. You got players that's been going toe-to-toe with him for years. They know things. They know tendencies about him. Iguodala, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder. You know what I'm saying? These guys are might be able to be the difference in the series. They got fearless young players, man, on that team. Hero, none. You know, Derrick Jones Jr. They got fearless guys on that team who might be able to make something happen. Obviously, the Heat are going to have the advantage in the series, but listen, man, when you got we saw what happened with the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. When you don't put that foot on that neck, like he knows me saying, when you don't put that foot on that neck, man, you give an opportunity, you leave an opportunity. If the Lakers don't put that foot on the Heat's neck, I see the Heat have a good shot, man, of surprising it. And that'll be great for the NBA. You know, people saying LeBron win another ring will be great. The Heat going and beating LeBron will be great for the NBA because it's unexpected. Those great moments that we all cherish in the NBA and remember, all those unexpected moments. Like this wasn't supposed to happen, man. I don't know. I remember we remember the Jordan titles and all that, but those unexpected moments, seeing the Supersonics upset the Houston Rockets. 8 seed beating a 1 seed. The New York Knicks beating the Miami Heat. You remember that when Allen Houston made that game winner against the Heat? They were the underdogs. Listen, man, it's nothing sweeter than seeing an underdog knock off a heavy favorite, man. So the Lakers are supposed to win it. It's their title. But if it's Boston, the Lakers win their hands down because the tendencies the Boston Celtics have, man, they make too many mistakes as a team. You know what I'm saying? Brad Stevens gotta have a leash on some of these guys. Kemba Walker, he's having too many slow starts. You know, and he's bad on defense too. Like you just saw it. Goran Dragic was just bullying him, man. He was just exploiting that. He wouldn't be good in that Los Angeles Lakers series because they would exploit him, man. They would put bigger guys on him, and they would make Kemba Walker have to play defense. Lakers would be able to exploit that team in that way. The Heat, Goran Dragic plays D, man. He hustles and he goes at you. Jimmy Butler played D, man. Jay Crowder played D. They even got that boy Duncan playing D. Bam Adebayo played D, man. Listen, if you ain't making an effort to play on that team, play defense on that team, Eric Spoelstra is not giving you minutes, man. So if the Lakers gotta play the Heat, they're favored to win, man. But it's gonna be a fight. I'm telling you.
Yep, that's facts. Man, you guys killed the show today, man. So appreciate everyone that showed up and showed out. Lewis Sports Network. Make sure you guys subscribe, comment, like, and share to that brother's channel. Jalik the Leader, the same thing. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Richy Rich, appreciated you, man. Thank you for coming in and dropping those napalms. Everyone in the chat, make sure y'all hit those thumbs up. We appreciate y'all. We're bringing it right back to y'all again tomorrow. Hopefully we gave you guys a great live stream. You guys enjoyed it. A lot of topics were covered. We faced the music. That's what we do over here. Lewis faced the music. Jalik faced the music. Richy Rich faced the music. I faced the music on us picking the Los Angeles Clippers. That's what you do. When you lose, you take your gentleman loss in fashion and you just accept it for what it is. We get a lot of wins, but sometimes, fellas, we're going to get some losses. It is what it is, man. We've been winning so much that in the cracks, we're going to get a loss here and there. It is what it is. It was just our time to get a loss. So if you're a Denver Nuggets fan or you became a Denver Nuggets fan overnight, be happy, but it's going to be short-lived because they're not getting past the Lakers. Based on what everybody's telling me, that makes sense. And LeBron James is going to recoup that damn investment that NBA and Nike initially invested in him in $90 million. And he's going to be sitting there and he's going to be hoisting that damn NBA trophy in a least path of resistance NBA title, in a fraudulent, fluky, on-the-spot NBA title. And LeBron James would probably be the one to justify when his legacy is done with that he won a fourth ring in the weakest manner, in the weakest form. He's going to justify that and say that that was some heavyweight lifting. I could see LeBron doing that. I could see LeBron spinning that. So if you want to talk about somebody that spins, Jalik the Leader, LeBron James is a spin master. That's what he does. Bottom line is, I appreciate the fellas that showed up and showed out in the panel. Thank you guys for your contributions. Appreciate everything you guys bring to the table. Y'all have a great Wednesday, Hump Day Wednesday. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make sure you guys stay safe. Make sure you guys out here in these basketball streets. You know what I'm saying? You peep what's going on, because these games are going to be live. Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics, that's going to be live. Celtics versus the Nuggets, that's going to be live. But I'm expecting, when it's all said and done between both of those series, because we got to make picks based on what I'm seeing from the temperature, I'm going to give it to the Los Angeles Lakers. And then on the East Coast, I'm going to pick the Miami Heat. And that's the way that I'm going to roll with both series. That's the bottom line. We enjoyed everyone that showed up and showed out. Appreciate you. I love this game. Appreciate you, Jalik the leader. Appreciate everyone that listened in on the chat. Appreciate everyone that did their thing. Y'all have a great Wednesday. We'll see y'all. We're going to run this thing back on Thursday, because we got to double back on these topics so that everyone knows that we don't run away from the storm, man. Lewis didn't run from the storm. Richy Rich didn't run from the storm. Jalik didn't run from the storm. You know what we did? We went right through that motherfucker. Y'all have a great Wednesday. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Yes, sir.